Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. It's 7 o'clock, and it's time to call to order this meeting of the Council of the Town of Oakville. We have a very busy agenda tonight, and unless we're very efficient, I actually don't believe we'll get all the way through it. At this time, I invite everyone to rise and join Council in singing O Canada. Thank you. Please be seated. It always improves the sound of O Canada when we have an audience with us, and I welcome the members of the public who've joined us tonight. You're much better singers than we tend to be. I will now give our opening prayer, after which we will have our customary moment of silent reflection, and then we will begin the business proper of the council meeting. God grant us understanding and patience, that truth and honesty may be evident in our decisions. Make us mindful of the needs of the people throughout the town of Oakville. Help us govern with the wider community in mind, and so create in us a desire for progress and responsible action. We ask this in your name. Amen. And now a moment of silence. Thank you, everyone. It works best in our meetings if you're not going to turn off your electronic devices, if you set them on silent. And council will appreciate that. Madam Clerk, do we have any regrets this evening?
No, there are no regrets tonight.
We have a full house. Any declarations of pecuniary interest, council? Thank you. Council, how do you wish to deal with the minutes of the previous council meetings? Councillor Dudek. Councillor Dudek moves approval of the 3 sets of minutes before you on the agenda. The May 28th regular session of council, the June 11th regular session of council, and the confidential minutes of the closed session of council on June 11th. All in favor? Oh, I'm sorry. We're not in committee. Councillor Johnston was the seconder. I omitted to mention that. All in favor? Opposed, if any? The minutes are adopted. All right, now we have a number of public presentations, and if you'll turn your attention to the table, basically we've received a few, some lovely recognition of the quality of our work for the people of Oakville. And they speak to the environmental consciousness and the sustainable thinking of town staff and you, my fellow colleagues on council. And I want to recognize this evening the outstanding work that staff play in these achievements. After all, as I like to say, we work through others, and from time to time when they do as well as this, we owe them some recognition. So first, Halton and Metrolink's Smart Commute Workplace 2012 Gold Award. Halton Region and Metrolinx recognized Oakville in a big way for participating in the Smart Commute initiative. and that helps to reduce the amount of single-occupant vehicles traveling to the workplace. Smart commuting is instrumental in curbing pollution and in supporting carpooling, cycling, walking, and transit-taking initiatives. The Gold Award was given to Oakville as an outstanding workplace that demonstrates innovation and documented success in convincing town staff to choose the more environmentally friendly ways to get to and from work. I want to thank Chris Clapham, the town's Sustainable Transportation Program Coordinator, for his outstanding efforts in getting this program off the ground and encouraging so many at Town Hall to stay involved and commute green. Chris, would you stand so we can recognize you? We also received the Ministry of Transportation Bicycle Friendly Communities Award, albeit bronze level, leaving us something to aspire to. And there, sorry? All right. Judged on 5 E's, engineering, education, encouragement, enforcement, evaluation, and planning, Oakville was honored with a Bicycle Friendly Communities Award by the Share the Road Cycling Coalition, an Ontario-based nonprofit organization that promotes bicycling as a mode of transportation, recreation, and fitness. Again, I'd like to thank Chris Clapham for his hard work, along with the leadership of the town's transportation and environmental policy departments, the commitment of the Halton Regional Police, and Councillor Pam Demoff in ensuring that Oakville continues to be a bike-friendly community and that the exactly correct name is given. So, Chris, once again, you've earned applause, and Pam, you too. And to the public, I should say, this isn't the only year that Chris has earned awards and applause. Now, we also have received LEED Gold certification for 16 Mile Sports Complex. I'm really thrilled about this. Oakville accomplished a really outstanding environmental achievement here. This LEED Gold certification is a bit more than we hoped we would achieve. LEED, of course, stands for Leadership in Energy and Environmental Design. The Canada Green Building Council awarded the gold certification to Oakville on April 3rd. 16 Mile Sports Complex was evaluated according to 6 LEED categories and earned high marks for achieving an energy cost savings of 42%, as well as using recycled content in the build and diverting more than 75% of the site's construction materials away from landfills. I want to recognize everyone who worked so hard in earning the LEED Gold certification, but we have to single out a few, and they'll stand for the others. And if you will stand to represent the others, Nina Duvall, Michael Brennan, Sarah Douglas Murray from Recreation and Culture, Chris Mark and Janice Olbina from Parks and Open Space, Shelley Switzer and Sahir Fasilat from Facilities and Construction Management, as well as Suzanne Matter from Environmental Policy. Thank you very much. Also on the table, also displaying progress in Oakville, Conservation Halton Awards of Excellence brought us the corporate award recognizing Oakville's biodiversity and environmental initiatives. Oakville's biodiversity and environmental initiatives have established the town as a green leader among municipalities. We are one of the first municipalities in Ontario to adopt an environmental strategic plan. We're also, according to AMO, to my delight, the first to adopt a municipal energy plan. And in fact, I was told it's still the best. So nothing like being first and best. This plan that I'm talking about, the Conservation Halton Awards Excellence Plan for our ESP and our biodiversity and environmental initiatives, our biodiversity and environmental initiatives feature an enhanced focus on wildlife and invasive species. We've approved a wildlife strategy which includes a bylaw to help preserve our songbird population and other small animals. Over the past year, the town hosted Living with Coyotes community workshops And we are implementing a state of the environment reporting system to monitor results in our efforts to deal with invasive species, as well as urban forestry initiatives to increase tree canopy cover and improve urban forest health. None of this would be possible without the hard work and dedication of the staff in our Environmental Policy Department. Both Cindy Toth and Donna Doyle deserve a big thank you in receiving this award. Thank you. There's also the Partners for Climate Protection ICLEI Award for Milestone 3, recognizing our corporate and community energy plan. The town is actively engaged in implementing the council-approved greenhouse gas emission reduction strategy that follows the National Partners for Climate Protection milestone process. As part of our environmental strategic plan, the town successfully achieved Milestone 3 recognition by the ICLEI Partners for Climate Protection program. The corporate and local community energy plans that make up Milestone 3 outline necessary actions for the corporation and the community to improve our air quality and reduce our energy use. Since the program's inception in 1994, 226 municipalities across Canada have joined the Partners for Climate Protection program. Of these members, only 87 have achieved Milestone 3 or better. So the town can be proud of this achievement too. Again, our outstanding staff in the Environmental Policy Department, Suzanne Matter and Donna Doyle, under the very capable direction of Cindy Toth, deserve high praise and our applause. And go ahead, stand up again. Now, the Oakville Canopy Club has won multiple awards for its communications and community outreach program. The Canopy Club is one of the tools Council has adopted to fight the emerald ash tree borer threat to our emerald ash trees. We have 180,000 of these trees, and they're all at risk or dying due to the threat posed by the emerald ash tree borer. While we have the most aggressive public ash tree treatment plan in all of Canada, about 80% of our treatable ash tree canopy is located on private property. So based on a unique and multifaceted communication strategy, the town launched the Oakville Canopy Club, an innovative outreach program that encourages residents and businesses to save their piece of the ash tree stand in our town. I want to congratulate Janine Irvings, Jeff Smalley, and Brett McNally from Strategy, Policy, and Communications for the creation and implementation of this very successful campaign. They've been recognized across Ontario by their peers in public relations and business communications, competing with hundreds of notable national companies and PR firms. I'm proud to share that the town's communications team brought home 6 awards for their Oakville Canopy Club campaign in these categories: community relations, social responsibility, and graphic design. And the awards are the Canadian Public Relations Society Pinnacle Award from the Hamilton chapter, the International Association of Business Communicators Awards, being the Ovation Award of Excellence from the Toronto chapter, the Ovation Award of Merit from the Toronto chapter, the Virtuoso Award of Excellence from the London chapter, the Virtuoso Award of Merit from the London chapter, and last but not least, maybe even greatest of all, the best of the best at the Virtuoso Awards held at the London chapter. So congratulations to you. Please stand. I just want to add that, normally when you turn to business communications and PR, it's about making other people look good. In this particular case, it's more than that. You're making something good happen. And for that, we're doubly impressed. So thank you once again. Now, Council, we have, as I understand it, about 10 delegations, and the clerk will call them. They're on a variety of matters. And I'm missing a public presentation here. I beg your pardon. On this copy of the agenda, we have a presentation from Dana Anderson, our planning director, and Cindy Toth, our environmental policy director. And I'm going to let them tell you what this is about. I think you'll be very pleased and quite impressed.
I'm ready. Good evening, Mayor Burton, members of council, members of staff, members of the public. My name is Dana Anderson. I'm the Director of Planning Services, and I'm with Cindy Toth this evening, Director of Environmental Policy. And it's a pleasure for us to be able to provide you with a presentation, which was approximately 25 minutes. We're going to do it in 5. That we had the opportunity to present in Portland, Oregon this year at the International Make Cities Livable Conference. And so we were representatives of Oakville at that conference. Just a little bit of background about how we got there. We were requested last year, there was a call for papers, and they're generally academic papers. And Cindy and I met to say this would be a wonderful opportunity to present all of the things that we're doing in Oakville, where we actually take policy and connect it to implementation and then make it happen, and to show other communities internationally how we've done that and the approach that we've taken. The conference focus this year was on true urbanism, planning healthy communities for all. This conference is organized internationally each year. It has been held in Portland, Oregon for a number of years, and it brings together a real mix of practitioners from across the world, actually, planners, architects, academics, politicians, scholars in areas such as public health, planning, transportation, and environmental sustainability. Brings them together to share their experiences and to learn from each other. The presentations are selected for new innovative approaches, as well as groundbreaking best practices and experience in achieving healthy, livable, sustainable communities for all. We prepared an abstract which was entitled Planning for Health and Well-Being in Oakville, a prescription for sustainability, now take the medicine. And that paper was one of over 100 that were reviewed, and actually our paper was selected as one of 20 that was to be presented at the international conference. So we thank you again for the opportunity to be able to attend that conference and present, and we're going to take you through a little bit of what we presented to our session. So in starting off the session, we wanted to give Oakville a context, and knowing that we had people from all over the world attending, we wanted to draw their attention to where Oakville was and what made Oakville unique as a municipality in Ontario. We asked people how many people had ever been to Oakville, expecting that many would say no, but I hear it's in Canada and it's really cold there. But to our surprise, probably of about the 125 people that attended our session, there were a lot of people that had either attended or visited Oakville, or who were very much aware of Oakville for very good reasons, and we'll talk about some of those. We talked about Oakville in terms of its population and how we were facing the challenges of growth, and we talked about Oakville being having the expectations and the sophistication of a city and managing the growth of a city, but while maintaining all of the beauty as well as the values of a small town. We also talked about the importance of our community in Oakville and how our community is very much engaged and how that contributes to a lot of the success of pulling the policies and the implementation together.
So we called upon ourselves to try and pass along some of our learnings that we bring to our work in delivering a process that is leading us towards sustainability and to improving the health and well-being of our community. We called it a prescription, and we try to distill what we're doing into a fairly simple process. We're basing our model on sustainability with 4 pillars of sustainability: environmental, social well-being, cultural, and economic prosperity. And we wanted to show people at the conference how we have moved towards more balanced decision-making and an integrated model that will help us move forward. We tried to set the stage by presenting some really broad pictures showing how Oakville has places for active living, places for culture, a diverse recreation program, and a beautiful environment to do all of those things. We distilled our process into 3 simple elements: plan, engage, and deliver.
So I got to talk about the plan part. And in terms of planning, we talked about the benefits that we have in Oakville of having a mayor and council and the leadership that this mayor and this council has brought to the planning process. Early in this council's inauguration, it was very clear that there was going to be expectations to put things in place, including a new strategic plan, and to deliver upon that strategic plan. And that included providing a new official plan, also the vision to be the most livable town in Canada. And I think from staff's perspective, we expressed the opportunity that we had in preparing a new official plan. And through the process of developing Livable Oakville, we spoke about the importance of not so much working for council, but working with council and working in an environment where it was very iterative, and we were able to develop that kind of relationship to bring forward a very clear and concise document that set out the vision for the town's growth over the next 30 years.
You will get that we tag team through this whole presentation. So we went from Livable Oakville as one of the guiding principles in the newly formed Vision 2057, that is the community sustainability framework that serves as an integration document where we have organized the many master plans and sub-plans that we have in place. And we're very fortunate, and we heard this from participants at the conference, that we are lucky to have so many of these initiatives already in progress, and we're in the mode of updating these to keep them current. Just to tell people how you can organize the master plans, we showed people our create it, our preserve it, our afford it, and our live it quadrants under Vision 2057. And a great example of how this is serving us well is in our update of the Transportation Master Plan, where we are integrating across different master plans. So we're going into the, for example, create it quadrant and making sure that Midtown strategy is being referenced. And the updating of the Transportation Master Plan, we're going into the afford it quadrant, because the information coming into switching gears is going to inform the update of the development charges bylaw. It relates to the environmental strategic plan, and that brings us into an important element that we really stressed to all the participants in Portland, that we are very strongly engaged with the community in delivering and updating all of our master plans and carrying out any of our initiatives. We involve different techniques. Following an updated model, we use traditional methods. We also have really entered into the social media aspects, the Twitterverse, council, mayor, communications, as well as environmental policy, and now transit. And we also are able to deal with emerging issues to respond to community interests. And this shows just how much of a concern coyotes are in, say, on the left, coyotes are going into Quiznos to check out the shelves, and in Oregon on the right, public transit has taken on new meaning because this is a coyote on a light rail vehicle. And
we had the opportunity actually to tell a great success story about one of the engagement processes that we undertook as part of the Livable Oakville process, and that was our project as part of Livable Oakville on Kerr Village. And we conveyed to the group that we had started this process with a lot of divergent views and opinions, and we created an engagement process where people were able to, through a hands-on interactive type workshop, come up with their ideas and some of the options for the policies that would then be formulated for Kerr Village. And it was through that process that we engaged with the community. They had what we were told was very meaningful input. And of course, that was one, as the Mayor mentioned this evening, one of the award-winning communication awards that we were recognized for by our profession. And then in terms of delivering, it's great to have your policy framework, it's great to have great engagement, but can you deliver? And what we're finding now, and we convey to the participants, is that we're starting to see development for which we provide policies for come forward in accordance with those planned policies.
We not only have to see those green buildings, green communities being developed by others in the community, we have to walk the walk ourselves. So we profiled some of the green buildings that we've just installed, the new transit facility, 16 Mile Creek that just had a LEED Gold evaluation awarded. And we gave a bit of a snippet. We won't go through the whole thing, where we profiled the FCM award presentation so that people could actually see a bit more on our green buildings. And I think you remember at Council you saw that video presentation. We also profiled the QE Park as a very innovative and sustainable model, repurposing the old high school and bringing it into the community for not only recreation, aquatics, but also to serve the social and cultural organizations within Oakville.
So we wanted to make it sound like it was perfect, but we always have challenges. And I think as we move forward with plan implementation, we're always faced with new interests, new emerging issues, as Cindy mentioned. And the sustainable medicine is not always the easiest pill to swallow. And we talked a little bit about some recent examples with our trails, where there's been issues that have been brought forward, and we've had to stop and revisit some of those and then look for changing some of that implementation to address the many issues coming forward.
So we really tried to identify where we had policy, where we had matching implementation, and how we were walking the walk, and how we are moving forward in this progress towards health and well-being and delivering a livable community, with the next stage in the Make It Live or Let's Be Livable development of the community sustainability plan, involving the community in engagement to develop that plan.
And then we thanked everyone. And I must say, we presented this on Victoria Day, and we had some very small, I guess, bottles of maple syrup that we brought with us. And obviously, going through customs, they weren't declared anything that you couldn't bring in. So I guess it's not food. But we brought those forward, and we provided those to those who participated as a thank you. And people were very much appreciative of that, as they were with the presentation itself. We got a lot of feedback and comments from many individuals who were there throughout the conference that we will continue to network with. We took away a lot of information from many of the other municipalities that were there on some of the projects that they are undertaking, and we'll continue to work with them and be sharing that information as it comes forward.
Thank you very much. On behalf of Council, it always does us proud when you take the word to your profession. And I'd also, on behalf of Council, like to thank you for what I hope I can get away with calling not your grandfather's PowerPoint.
Thank you.
It's a little more dynamic than what we're used to. All right. Council, I think now we can turn to our delegations, and I'll ask the clerk to call the first delegation.
Our first delegation is Jason Arno, here speaking to the driving schools, item 3 of the Administrative Services Committee meeting of June 12th.
Mr. Arno? I'm thinking I don't see him.
Okay. The next delegation is Dana Kent, here also speaking to the driving schools, item 3 of ASC.
Ms. Kent? You got another one?
We'll try Jim Allen, here also speaking to driving schools, item 3.
Mr. Allen. Next.
Ruth Sheridan, here speaking to the free public transit for seniors, item 2 on this evening's agenda.
Welcome, Ms. Sheridan. Council looks forward to your information. If you could perhaps swing the microphone over towards yourself, depending on where you want to stand, that'll make it more likely that we and the audience will hear you. And you don't need to be but maybe 8-9 inches away from it.
Thank you. Oh, my name is Ruth Sheridan. Mayor Burton, councillors, town staff, and fellow attendees. I'm here to thank councillors Max Kahn and Pam Demoff for bringing forth the motion that is before you tonight regarding transit for seniors. I think you know how I feel about this issue, but I had to be here tonight to speak with you in person. I fully support the motion, which I see as a win-win opportunity for seniors and for Oakville Transit. I envision the program outlined in the motion to join with the regional split program as a complementary plan to enrich and benefit the lives of seniors. The free day of transit for seniors will allow them, me being one of them, to assess the advantages and to see the opportunities of using public transit. Seniors will then, hopefully, purchase more tickets to use on the other 6 days of the week, and this will add to the revenues of Oakville Transit. If I can be of any help promoting this service as a senior, as a champion, or as an ambassador for seniors transit, I'm in. I'm available. I myself will be using Oakville Transit now, since suddenly, as of May 9th, I learned that I can no longer drive. There are many such stories. Just today, I received a phone call from Joan Wilkinson. She phoned me to share that after reading the story in the Oakville Beaver, she needed to get in touch with someone. She's volunteered at Oakville Hospital for 14 years. She walks every Thursday to the hospital to do her 4-hour shift. She says now, when the hospital moves to its new location, she will have to stop her volunteering. She can't walk to the new location. But, she assured me, if there was a free day of senior transit, she could then do the volunteering that she's been happy to do for the last 14 years. She would switch her day if necessary. I urge you to vote for this motion, and I urge you to do it tonight. Thank you.
Thank you very much for your information. Are there quick? Actually, we don't allow that. The idea is that we try to make everybody have equal opportunity to bring their opinion to council. It'd be very kind of you to observe our rules. Council, do you have questions for Ms. Sheridan? Madam Clerk, would you call the next delegation, please?
Next delegation is Mike Lansdowne, also here to speak to the free public transit for seniors item.
Welcome, Mr. Lansdowne. Council looks forward to your information.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Burton, members of council, members of staff, and members of the public. For the record, my name is Mike Lansdowne. I'm a resident of Bronte, and I'm speaking tonight on my own behalf. The purpose of my delegation tonight is twofold. The first is to thank and compliment Councillors Pam Damoff and Max Kahn for their timely and considerate motion for a pilot study on free transit for seniors, and to signify my very appreciative support. My second purpose is to explain my support to Council by sharing the significant benefits that this proposal will have for a specific and rapidly growing segment of our senior population, namely new Canadians in Oakville. As a volunteer for the Halton Multicultural Council, I have been delivering their English conversation circles to new Canadians in Oakville for the last 3 years. My regular group numbers between 25 to 30 and has met regularly every Friday morning for the last 3 years at the Iroquois Ridge Senior Center. The majority of our group came to Canada from China, but also include people from Iraq, India, and South America. All are seniors. I also fill in, as and when necessary, to deliver English conversation circles at the Kerr Street Senior Center, St. Aidan's Church, and at Hopedale Presbyterian. So I've had a great opportunity to get to know a good cross-section of new Canadians in our community, most of whom also happen to be seniors, and to hear about their experience in assimilating into their new community. I also spent some 10 years on the region's Elder Services Advisory Committee, and so I'm well familiar with the quality of life of seniors in Halton. The first objective of our English conversation circles, naturally, is to give newcomers an opportunity to practice and become fluent in English. The second objective, and nearly as important, is to introduce them to the services, traditions, and practices of our 3 levels of government to help them to assimilate into our community as easily and as reasonably possible. Transportation, and especially public transit, is a major challenge for this demographic. The majority have come from countries where, first of all, public transit is much more available and less costly than it is in Halton. In addition, in China, for example, public transit for seniors is completely free 24/7, including subways and intercity rail. Very few new Canadian seniors own their own cars or have driving licenses. Most are dependent on their children owning a car. This in turn limits their travel to times when the family car is not required for business commuting purposes, or to other hours when their children are available to chauffeur, and or the car is not required for other family purposes such as grocery shopping. The shopping needs of new Canadians also dictate a greater distance of travel. Although Halton boasts a large cross-section of retailers, ethnic shopping per se is still very limited. Most new Canadians find they have to travel at least to Mississauga and to Toronto and Brampton to find the commodity offerings that they prefer to buy. Even trying to get to Mississauga via public transit involves a complex juggling exercise of schedules, fares, and transfers between the 2 municipalities. Like most who are becoming established in a new country and a new community, new Canadian seniors are typically not wealthy. They do not have the benefit of workplace and social benefits as do their fellow Canadians who have lived here all their lives. So, as well as the limited availability of public transit, the cost factor becomes a major consideration for them. The criteria for the region's split transit pass program, announced earlier this year, proved extremely challenging. And by the time Oakville Transit had implemented a much appreciated local consultation program, all the available passes, unfortunately for Oakville, had been taken up. Because of our group's interest in transit, and as part of our objective of involving our English conversation clients in community affairs, we have been diligent in keeping our group aware of the current consultation process for the town's transportation master plan, Switching Gears. 5 of my new Canadian colleagues accompanied me to the public meeting last month, where they were able to provide input on the design. They also had the pleasure of meeting their ward councillor, Councillor Adams. We arranged to have the town's online survey translated into Mandarin, and then asked our group to complete the survey individually, which were then submitted to the town. Likewise, several members of our group have accompanied me to tonight's meeting to show their individual and collective support for the motion proposed by Councillors Damoff and Khan. Over the weekend, one of my new Canadian colleagues, Fred Fu, sent me an email with his thoughts. I have his permission to share this with you, and I would like to put it up on the overhead because it probably says all much more expressively than I can. Could I pick this up on the overhead, please, Your Worship? Thank you. Pardon? There we are. I will read it. Hi, Mike. Please, in the name of Iroquois Ridge Chinese Senior Group, more than 30 seniors, support and thank the motion of Councillor Max Khan, Ward 6, and Councillor Pam Damoff. We are Canada's new immigrants. More than 90% of the people cannot drive, also can't speak English. Currently, our areas of activity are confined to only a range where we can reach by walking, but no large stores are in this area even. Having heard about the motion, we were excited to talk to our friends at a party last Saturday as to how we could use the free bus. Some people want to travel by bus around Oakville to get to know the new community we are living in. Some people want to go to a picnic in the lakeside parks. Some people plan to go shopping so they can shop for the specific things that they like and want. Brackets, usually older people are taken by their children in their car when they do the family shopping, and so the older people don't have the time and opportunity to browse and shop for themselves. When this motion is realized, it will bring new quality of life to seniors. We came from countries with different social systems, and we are not familiar with Canada's social decision method. Some people don't believe the government will listen to the voice of the ordinary people. Most people think that the people's elected councillor would listen to the voice of the people. We have never attended this meeting. Now we look upon it as a window to know Canada. Signed, Fred. That, as I said, for me, says it far more expressively than I can. In summary, Your Worship, it's my respectful opinion that the motion before you this evening represents a well-thought-out approach to a pilot study, which in turn offers a possible route to significantly improving the quality of life for this growing segment of our population, the seniors of our diverse community. It is my sincere hope that this motion receives Council's unanimous assent. Those are my comments, Your Worship, and I'd be happy to answer any questions that Council may have.
Thank you very much for your comments and your information, Mr. Lansdowne. Questions? Councillor Damoff.
Thank you very much for coming out tonight.
My pleasure.
You're aware, you mentioned it's a pilot, it's a 6-month trial program, and then we would be referring that to the Budget Committee to make a final decision on the program.
Yes.
You've advocated for this for how long?
On ESAC for quite a while, Councillor Damoff. It came up at the huge survey that we had throughout Halton last year, and which started the previous year and then was completed last year, and it comes up time and time again.
You mentioned the region split program. Do you know people who have tried to use that and were unsuccessful, or who chose not to go that route? And maybe you can, do you have any experience with seniors who have considered using the split program?
When it was announced, it looked as though it was quite interesting, and I brought the details of it to our English conversation circle. but the criteria looked so complex. And one of the most difficult ones was that it was income. There was an income-based test in it, which was based on family income, not on the income of the individuals. And so in our case, that just didn't make any sense.
Did they have the ability to get to Halton Region and then to Oakville Transit in order to get the pass?
No. We felt it was just too difficult to do. And then we heard through Councillor Duddick, I was at a meeting with Councillor Duddick and heard that Oakville Transit was doing an excellent, had started a program of explaining to seniors how this system could be used. And as a result of that, was successful in signing up a number of seniors for passes in Oakville, to the extent that when I asked Councillor Duddick if Barry could come and talk to us, it was too late. All the passes had gone. So we'll never know whether we could have used that program or not.
And then my last question, we've talked about the split program and the financial needs of seniors, but you spoke a little bit about new Canadians and the benefits they would see. Do you see benefits beyond just those who have a financial need for the free transit?
Yes, absolutely, I do. The seniors that we have, the seniors from the diverse community, do not own a vehicle. In by and large, there are probably a few, but very, very few own vehicles. But more importantly, very few of them have driver's licenses, so they're not able to use that form of transportation. It's as though, I turn 80 next year, so if I get tested and lose, I'm going to be looking for the free transit day myself, too.
Would you take it other days besides just the free day?
Absolutely. Oh, I'd have to.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lansdowne. And you've been at this for quite some time, and this whole issue of, as I have, from I guess when we started with 11 buses up to where we are now, and the argument, continuing argument, how much should be funded or supported from the fare box, and how much should be supported by the tax base. And over the years that we're up, I think the tax base is now around $17 million. But my question ends up being, how would this be preferable to the pass system, which you say maybe it wasn't rolled out properly, or maybe there wasn't enough passes. But once you hit free, do you not basically negate ever going back to the pass system or anything else? Or is it free, the goal eventually to be free 7/24 or every day or just one day? Or where are we heading on this?
I don't have enough background to give you a comprehensive answer, Councillor Bird. But all I can tell you is that there are countries that ESAC has looked into. And the UK is one, basically I think European countries, where there's free transit available for seniors from after the rush hour in the morning to before the rush hour in the evening. So basically, they put people on the buses between those hours at no charge. And my understanding is that it is not a lost situation. But I don't have the background to give you substantive information on it.
Is there I know some European countries, and you're very familiar with a little bit of Singapore, where you pay in special seating for seniors, and you pay by kilometer or on the bus and all that. We're not there yet. But this concern is, once we have decided free, how would you ever implement anything else other than to expand the free to another day? Or you say, you just make it one day, but now you're suggesting maybe it'd be better to have free during certain times, at the same time every weekday or weekends or what have you. But you're supporting just free one day and pick a day that hopefully is convenient to most people.
The reason I'm speaking to support the motion, Councillor Bird, is that I believe that Councillor Damoff and Councillor Khan have the right intent with a pilot study. And I think it's important to find out, first of all, whether by offering free transit on 1 day a week, you actually can boost the ridership, and that there is a response from the seniors in Oakville. And I think once that's the first step, is to find out what that we have indeed got the audience and the interest there that we believe we have. And then I think council, with the advice from staff, will have to take that forward and decide what to do with that information. But I think this is definitely the right step, is to find out, this will at least allow us to find out what could be.
And just follow up on that, and you would support, if whatever the criteria is, if it wasn't successful, that the program would be discontinued, and you would suggest we tried and we've got the information and it didn't do what it was supposed to do, the pilot project, and let's move away from free and back to having the fare box cover a portion of the cost of transit for seniors.
I'd like to see the results of the study before I answer that, in a finite way. But I would be disappointed if there is no reaction to this. I really would.
Councillor Elgar and then Councillor Khan.
Hi, Mr. Lansdowne. Thank you for coming and speaking tonight. I guess my question is, currently, the transit budget is $25 million. The ticket revenue we receive is $7.7 million, which leaves $17.3 million on the taxpayers of Oakville. How much more do you want on your tax bill for related to public transit? Like, how much are you willing as a household owner to have your taxes increased to support free transit?
I have not calculated. I did not bring my calculator with me, Councillor, and I cannot give you an answer to that.
But like you mentioned yourself about your seniors pass, you'd like to use one, or no, or you'd like the free transit. But right now you can get a pass for $50 a month, unless you qualify for the $3 a month if you're below a certain income. Mm-hmm. But is $50 a month absolutely way too much to ride? You can ride it all day and all night until 1 in the morning. Like, what do you? Right now we're subsidizing 69% on transit. You, the taxpayer, we all are. All of us that live in Oakville. What should we? How much should we be subsidizing? What's the percentage?
I'm afraid, as I said earlier, as I replied earlier, I cannot give you a concrete answer to that because I have not studied it.
Would you agree it should be more? Obviously, you must think it should be more. If you're asking for, today we do collect revenue. What you're saying, don't collect revenue. So if it's not, if 69% is too much, like, should it be 70, 71?
Councillor, I think we're straying over the line into, we're not really asking for information now. We're sort of arguing, and we don't, as you know, we receive information from our delegations. Could I ask you, hasn't he already answered your question? Or told you he can't answer your question?
Yeah, you're right. He isn't able to answer, doesn't have the information. I appreciate that.
Your wish would be a pleasure to meet with the councillor outside of the meeting later on at his convenience to discuss this further.
I'm sure he looks forward to that. Councillor Khan?
Thank you very much for attending today. Councillor Bird and Councillor Elgar asked you some questions and you weren't able to answer them. Because you don't have that information at your hand. Is that not correct?
That is correct. It's some years since I've studied the transportation budget in detail, and I can't answer those questions directly, no.
The assumption of Councillor Elgar's assumption was that this is certainly going to be a loss to our revenue. Do you agree that that's the assumption he took?
I don't agree with it entirely. I think it's too direct, because my belief is that when the rest of Oakville sees people riding the buses, that they're going to say, gosh, it's easy to ride the bus. And so I think you're going to see their ridership increase, which means that the fare component is going to increase in the fare box. But I have no background in that area, so I can't offer that as any kind of conclusion, Councillor.
Fair enough. So basically...
Councillor, could I just caution you that asking the delegation about your colleagues' assumptions has also strayed over the line. Could you
I
limit
apologize.
yourself to seeking information?
Councillor Aguilar, I apologize. Do you accept my apology? Thank you. And I meant no malice, sir. Would you agree that instead of us having this discussion in the absence of any evidence whatsoever, it's better that we have a pilot project, gather the evidence, gather the data, and then refer this to the Budget Committee so they can come back and determine the viability of this project?
That was the intent of the statement I made earlier, Councillor, in my statement. I said the reason I'm supporting this is that finally, if Council approves this your pilot study, your proposed pilot study, we will at least have some data to work with, which we have not had heretofore. It's always been, I think, you think, etc.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you, Mr. Lansdowne.
Thanks, John.
Madam Clerk, the next delegation.
Next delegation is Pamela Sachs, here to speak to the driving schools, item 3 of administrative services.
Ms. Sachs, welcome. Council looks forward to your information. I hope you've heard my advice about how to use the microphone.
Yes, Mayor Burton.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Burton, members of council, members of staff, and members of the public. We are grateful for this opportunity to share with you our 9-year experience of living in a neighbourhood with close to Serco drive test. As a 24-year resident of Brookmill Road, I speak for many residents who are frustrated and tired with the commercialisation of our residential neighbourhood. My understanding is that this has been an issue of concern for the Joshua Creek Ratepayers Association when you, Mayor Burton, were president of that association years ago. And years later, we're still dealing with the issue. We appreciate the recommendations and thank the Administrative Services Committee for the recommendations put forward. In fact, the very same recommendations were presented to Serco at 2 meetings I attended in 2010 and 2011. Then, as now, Serco was not cooperative. The identification test vehicle proposal in the restricted zone would have been helpful if Serco had cooperated in 2010. Although difficult, training schools were identified and reported by the residents. Our objective is to share with you the intensity of the problems, Serco's lack of cooperation, and steps taken by residents to reduce traffic, or try to, and increase safety. In our view, Serco's aim was to policate rather than problem solve, and we were sent on a wild goose chase. Aspen Forest, Brookmill, Carroll and Dorland are included in the 16-minute start-to-finish test routes that brought an unacceptable level of traffic from drive test and the driving schools. 7 days a week for almost 9 years. Unfortunately, the bylaw has not solved the illegal training school problem, and the traffic remains. I worked full-time for many years, so I didn't see the traffic for myself, although I was very aware of the problem. My neighbours shared with me their years of reporting, well-documented problems, and the lack of success for any effective change. With retirement and more time, I saw how uncontrollable our streets had become with drive test and the illegal testers. Over the spring and summer of 2009, with only the temporary relief during the drive test strike, Brookmill was inundated with testing and training traffic. Residents wrote letters, some gave well-formulated suggestions, and the problems remained. Letters of complaint reporting to Serco did not bring any action or relief, and each of you has a package of the documentation that I prepared to support the statements that I'm making, and that's pages 1 to 6. But this is what it took to get action. 2 hours of taking photos from my dining room window, and only after sending these photos on January the 14th, 2010, to MPP Kevin Flynn was our long-standing problem taken seriously. That's page 7. With 5 days, a meeting to discuss the issues documented since 2004, was held or scheduled to be held at Kevin Flynn's office. On February the 4th, 2010, we hoped for a solution. We looked to Serco. We looked for Serco's cooperation in dealing with problems resulting from their business model. Serco sounded reasonable and seemed willing to find solutions. We identified increased traffic on residential streets, illegal training traffic, lack of identification of drive test and illegal trainers, excessive parallel parking and three-point turns by both drive test and illegal trainers. Document 3, or pages 9 and 10, is an email synopsis of the meeting and sent to the neighbours on February the 6th. From that email, the amount of traffic. Even Serco recognised the problem but stated it was not their testers, rather the training schools who mimicked their testing. They, Serco, have developed a list of schools and plate numbers for those trainers who should not be in the area protected by the bylaw, and said they would impose penalties on the trainers 3 months, 6 months, etc., in preventing those students from getting a licence at the Cornwall location, the driving school students. Serco said that they directed their testers to take the licence plate of anyone they believed to be a school and report it to their management. My last comment on that email was, overall, I'm optimistic. When we worked with Serco consistently. They asked for the who, what, where, and when, preferably with a photo. I sent photos of the obvious violators in restricted areas on Saturdays and Sundays with no apparent penalty to the violators. That's pages 11 to 14. Some violators are reported by residents to Serco over 12 times since April 2008 with no action taken. An example is license plate number BBHT099, greenish grey Toyota Corolla. On November the 12th, in an email, 2010, in an email to Mr. Arner from Councillor Bird, it states, is this operator being penalised in some way, or are these flagrant bylaw violations simply being ignored? One resident compiled a spreadsheet of the reports made to Serco between 2008 and 2011. Driving schools reported were cross-referenced. That's pages 16 and 17. Over 128 licenses, some with permit plate numbers, driving school signs, and all with colour, make, model, and dates. A number of times each of these were reported was documented. We were told by Mr. Arno of Serco Drive Test that reporting and penalties would be a silver bullet. Once the word spread between the violating driving schools, after one school was issued a 3 or 6 month penalty or longer in obtaining licensing for its students, the problems would more or less take care of itself. When it became obvious that this was a useless exercise, we stopped reporting in January of this year. The one positive that came from that February the 4th meeting in 2010 was Keith Bird's suggestion to relocate parallel parking and three-point turns from the residential streets to a fixed area north of Cornwall on Maple Grove. While Drive Test initially indicated a willingness, the actual move caused some resistance, and Councillor Bird needed to go through the Ministry for resolution. Even the basics were a struggle. Our cooperative efforts with Serco were not working, and a second meeting was requested. On February the 25th, 2011, with all the stakeholders present, the discussion focused on short and long-term solutions. The obvious long-term solution was to move the Drive Test Centre, and the short-term solution was to provide interim relief until Drive Tests move at the end of their lease, August of 2013. My February the 25th, 2011 email confirmed my understanding of the discussion, and it was sent to all of the attendees. It was unchallenged. In fact, a cut and paste was used by Mr. Flynn's staff in responding to emails from residents who had not attended the meeting. Pages 24 to 26. Some communication was received from Serco. Overall, it was sparse. With all the complaints issued, I only received documents confirming 2 suspensions, one for 45 days and the other unknown, pages 27 to 30. The province and the town are accountable and responsible to their residents. Serco, a private company, seemingly is not accountable or responsible to anyone. We did as they asked, and they are not cooperative unless external pressure is applied. Who will monitor and who will enforce if Serco agrees to the committee's proposals or a new bylaw is passed? In our view, based on Serco's past actions, they have not been good corporate citizens. Their promises were not actioned. They have exhibited a lack of cooperation and accountability. Simply, this is not working, and stronger action needs to be taken. We are asking for a long-term solution. We respectfully ask that Mayor Burton work with Councillors Byrd and Gettings, with MPP Kevin Flynn, to lobby the Minister of Transport to relocate drive test off of Oakville, and preferably off of Cornwall, and preferably out of Oakville. As a minimum, we're asking that those streets, which have been test streets for the past 9 years, be removed from the list of approved routes. And we've really endured enough. And thank you for your attention.
Thank you for your information. Councillor Lapworth.
Thank you very much for bringing the information to Council this evening. I truly sympathise with your situation because I experienced the same thing on my street, Summit Ridge Drive, but to nowhere near the volume that you have. Now, obviously, you know, the driving testers or the driving instructors here are looking for a specific situation where they can do the reverse parallel parking. Do you happen to know who the owner of that Honda is parked outside your house?
Yes, actually, it's my neighbour.
Okay, I'm sure you realise...
Yes, and I have asked my neighbour if he would kindly park his Honda in his driveway, so this was not an issue.
Okay, and what happened?
The car remained. Some people just aren't cooperative.
Okay, thank you very much.
My pleasure.
There's layers and layers to this.
There really is.
All right, Councillor Giddings.
Thank you for coming out. This has been going on for quite a while. I believe it was at the February meeting with MPP Flynn where we made suggestions on additional routes, and they were the right length and time and everything else to no avail. Just for clarification, it is a drive test facility, and you don't have any concern with the province operating that facility there. It's with the drivers 24/7 operating within a area where we prevent that through bylaw, correct?
Yes.
Well, it's unfortunate. I think 3 of the delegations that weren't able to attend this evening were representatives from Drive Test. Because in the Administrative Services Committee report, they expressed the same concern. They don't like people driving the routes before the test. They addressed a number of concerns, and they agree with us, number of our items. So I guess it will be up to myself and Councillor Byrd to follow up with Mr. Arno tomorrow morning and see if we can arrange, if he doesn't make it this evening, and find a more suitable time for him for us to get together.
Is that a question?
Well,
I was just about to ask the same thing.
I take it you'll be available for this meeting.
Of course.
We have been for 9 years, so.
Councillor Byrd, did you want the floor?
No, I'm surprised, or maybe I'm not surprised, that Servco, it's how important this is to the community, that they would list down as a delegation and not show up or have a representative from that organization that's here tonight, or one that's prepared to indicate they are in attendance. However, the tape of your comments will probably be made available to them. I'm sure Mr. Bullion is taking note of that, and hopefully they can express again the difficulty that they have made in your life and your neighbor's life by turning your street into their business activity. So thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Demoff.
Were you aware at the Administrative Services Committee that they indicated that they were leaving that location when their contract was up?
Actually, I thought I had read something differently.
The report said that they were not, but at the meeting, they indicated that, I don't know where the miscommunication came, but you can get a copy of the recording. They did indicate they were going to move when their contract is up in,
When we met last month.
I believe it was August of 2013.
Right.
That was the long-term solution that actually Kevin Flynn presented at the meeting. My only information came from the Administrative Services Committee's written report, and that was the statement that surprised me. Because the other, as I said, the other recommendations have been out there for a number of years. It could have helped, but they're not interested.
Thank you, Councillor. Thank you very much for your information.
My pleasure.
Madam Clerk, more delegations?
More delegations. Jerry Peelsticker, you're also speaking to the driving schools.
Welcome back,
Thank you.
so to speak. Council looks forward to your information.
Mayor Burton, councillors, staff, and residents. I've been an Oakville resident for the last 34 years, and I'm very proud to say that. I love living in Oakville. It's a great community, and especially for families. But one of the things that we're trying to bring to your attention tonight, in a residential area, it's really families, children, versus commercialization. And that's really where the concern comes down to. That's it in a nutshell. In 2006, I was involved on an ongoing basis and basically just approached it in going to Serco and saying, we have some problems with the number of cars that are on our street. We have problems as far as for the safety of our children. You will see in some of the pictures that I'm going to present that the cars are going up over the curbs. We were asked at times by Serco, where some of the neighbors were really quite aggressive in going to the training cars that were coming out. Would we be kind enough to go to those neighbors if we were made aware of them and speak to those neighbors and ask them to back off and give them a chance to prove themselves of how they would change and improve things. I committed myself to that. I followed through on that. And so I went to neighbors who were basically with their bikes or with their fists on the windows just saying, we're fed up with you. You're putting our children at risk. Please leave the area. I went and spoke to those people when I was asked to, every single occasion, and asked them to give Serco some time. Pam and I have been to a number of meetings over the years. I've been involved since 2007. We've been to a number of meetings. Right from the very beginning, all we've been trying to do is to find common ground. In a nutshell, it's for the safety of the children. I don't know if any of you have ever played street hockey. I certainly did. did earlier with our daughters. As I said, I've been in Oakville for 34 years. I have grandchildren now. We have 4 grandchildren. There's absolutely no way in any of the 7 days of the week that I would consider playing street hockey. One of the major reasons, even without Circle, that we had the amount of traffic that we do was as soon as Maple Grove was closed as far as an access up to Cornwall, that meant a dramatic, and I'm not overstating it, a dramatic increase in the traffic on our street by 4-fold every day of the week. On top of that, we have been involved in 3 out of the 6 routes that Circle uses for their cars come into our area. It was only last year that they agreed to drop one of those routes. I'm going to show you some of the pictures, and if you have a car that is on your screens right now that is doing a test, you can't, in most situations, get by that car if you're behind and want to go up the street. Because we are being used as a thoroughfare, the people are trying to get wherever they're trying to get to quickly. And we're a flow-through. And therefore, when they can finally get through past those cars, they race up the street to make up for the time that they've lost. And that dramatically puts the lives of the children in the area in jeopardy. Right from the very beginning, what we tried to do is not to involve council, not to involve the police, not to involve the town. Basically, I went to them, expressed what the concern was, then we've had meetings after that to try to find common ground, to find a change. It's only if they are forced to that they will do anything. They will make statements, they will not follow through. From my involvement, this is 9 years later. The first email that I have is from Marnie Sharpen, back on May 30th of 2007. We will have several officers in the area this weekend. We will be working along with the police. I have to confirm with the MTO that they won't be open this weekend, and then everything should be a go. I need your help, Jason. I just want to roll some more things here. Just the next picture. Yeah, next picture. This gives you an idea. Here you have a car that is right across the street. You can see there that there is no flow-through. And this goes on when people are training. If they know that this is part of the route, or if the drive schools know that we are part of the route, in 3 or 2 out of 6 training areas, they will use that 7 days a week. You can see there, cars will try to go around, they will wait, and then they will speed up. And that has taken place again this week. The pictures basically, I believe, support what I'm trying to say. This car ended up going onto the curb. And that's where children involved. As I mentioned, we've been involved, my wife and I and our family have been involved in the area for the last 34 years. There's a transition going on. There's a lot of new young families. The kids don't know what the exact rules are. Once they're out the door, they'll go racing out. And these are the types of problems that we're faced with. So basically what it comes down to, we have tried over the last 9 years to resolve the issue in not involving anybody else. We don't want the police, as you people know very, very well, are stretched to their limit. We don't want to have to involve them. We're sorry we have to involve council tonight. What our concern is that there will be an extension of Circle going on. In all of Mississauga, which is so much larger than Oakville, there is not one drive test school. We have people coming from Etobicoke and from Mississauga and from Burlington. And we have all of those going down our street. At a minimum, what we're asking for is to have zero involvement in the short term on any training going on our streets, and in the long term, definitely for Circle to leave Oakville, or if they can find a better place, because from day one, this has been of no benefit to anybody in Oakville. And when you consider that in all of Mississauga, there is not one testing place, and look at the size of Mississauga compared to Oakville. Thank you very much. In a nutshell, what it comes down to, it's families and children versus commercialization. And I know where my heart goes.
Thank you for your information, sir. Councillor Adams has a question for you.
Thank you very much for joining us. We had a great lengthy discussion the other night as well on the subject, and I'm fairly certain that every member of council understands where you're coming from on this and supports your concerns. Have you read the agenda and the recommendations from the committee? Are you aware of the motion?
June 12th?
That's right, the one from last week. You're familiar with the recommendation from the committee?
Well, part of what the staff brought out at the end, on the second last page, basically what the staff are saying, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but basically what they're saying there hasn't been, and I've got it right here.
What I'm trying to get at, sir, is on page 34 of tonight's agenda, where that item appears, the motion that was put forward by the committee is that the drive test Oakville be requested to work with town staff to identify options and associated costs for alternative mechanisms to mitigate the impact of the driver examination center on Cornwall Drive, and staff report back with the results of this review. 2, that drive test Oakville be requested to introduce identification on all test vehicles so that residents will know at a glance that those vehicles are legally entitled to be operated in the restricted zone. Now, those are the 2 from the committee. Your councillors are, I believe,
Yes.
I don't want to steal their thunder, but they've put forward something for our consideration to add that staff be requested to bring forward an amendment to Schedule 12 of Bylaw 2008-093 to prohibit driving school operators from conducting driving instruction upon any street used by Drive Test Oakville as test route number 3 in the Clearview subdivision, and that upon passage of the bylaw amendment, appropriate signage should be erected on those streets accordingly. Those are the 3 items I think that are coming forward. Are you in support of those, and is there something else you want us to do?
Yes, very much so. We've had the signage in the area. It has proved to be absolutely useless. It's been there for 2 to 3 years. So that hasn't done anything, because basically what you have to have is somebody from the town plus somebody from the police services there exactly when it happens. There's not the money, there's not the time to have those people there. So that won't work. We've also asked to have identification on the cars. Serco has refused every time over the last 9 years for that to be introduced. They say that their insurance companies will not allow that to be done. As we all know, if you have the unfortunate situation to have to go to a funeral, what they do is they take a cardboard card and put it on. They're not open to that. They're not open to magnetic attachments.
So sir, what is it that you're trying to get us to pass? If council was going to pass something, what would it be to satisfy you? I mean, what is the item that you want us to pass?
Short term, that the routes that are being used right now are stopped because we are on 2 of those routes. Long term, that the council will take an aggressive approach in getting Circle out of Oakville.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions? Thank you, sir, for your
Thank you.
information. Madam Clerk, the next delegation.
Next delegation is Peter Cook here on behalf of the Seniors for Seniors and Senior in Need regarding the free public transit for seniors, item 2 on tonight's agenda.
Mr. Cook?
Your Worship, if I just have a point of information. Mr. Cook came here and I asked him to bring a video that praises him, so he was a bit reluctant to bring it because it seemed like he was tooting his own horn. That was done at my behest. And I think they're going to play that video now.
Thank you, Councillor. Mr. Cook, welcome. Council looks forward to your information.
They are the winners of a most unusual competition. Lucia and Andrew Linkert have won $1,000 a month for a year.
It means the world.
Because they are seniors so destitute that after rent, they couldn't afford the necessities of life.
Hopefully I'll be able to get a pupper. Oh my God, I don't know.
It was a project launched by Toronto businessman Peter Cook, who asked social workers to submit names of needy seniors. The second winner, an 86-year-old woman who didn't want to appear on camera, also living in poverty.
No funds whatsoever, and no life really, and no friends and no relative.
The goal of his tragic competition was to bring awareness to a hidden problem: impoverished seniors. It worked.
We had so many requests for people offering their services, offering to make meals, offering to pay meds.
But it raises a question.
I hate that it comes down to we have to win over somebody else who has to lose. You know, that's what I worry about is what about the people that didn't win?
Like the seniors who live below the poverty line. Like 86-year-old Bert who lives alone. His food 1 meal a day delivered by a volunteer.
No, I don't have much money, and I get by.
Workers at the Good Neighbor Club in downtown Toronto see them every day.
The seniors can't afford it. They go to the grocery stores, and the groceries are so expensive.
People are under the misguided notion that people collect pension checks and that should provide them enough to live on. The reality is that it is not.
And while these acts of generosity are heartening, those watching the ever-growing number of seniors on the horizon are worried.
It should not be a matter of charity. It has to be a basic right to live in dignity. And so there are opportunities to fix this. Governments can increase their income supports, they can reduce our expenses, they can make services easier to get to.
In fact, there are estimates that a third of baby boomers won't have enough money for retirement, meaning that more could end up in these situations. Lisa?
This situation being the basic government pension, which is what, $1,300
$1,300 a month, and that, based on what we saw, does not appear to be enough.
So as you say, contests are not the solution, even though the response to your story has been overwhelming.
Yes, that's true. So what's going to happen now is that Peter Cook, the man who started all of this, is going to spend the weekend going through all the emails and all the offers of money to increase the pot so he can do this again next year and expand it. But he's also looking at setting up a national charity specifically targeted at seniors. But in the meantime, if people want to help, I asked one of the social workers, they said, you can look for this hidden misery anywhere in Canada. There are seniors across the country. You can find them through food banks, through Meals on Wheels, and maybe adopt a senior to make sure that they can get through it in the short term while the larger issues of what do we do of poverty in senior years gets resolved.
He's sort of like an accidental philanthropist, isn't he?
He is indeed, yes.
Thank you for this update tonight, Avis.
Thank you.
And we have been reading all of your comments on this story online. You can still join the conversation. Just go to the CTV National News page on Facebook or on Twitter under the hashtag #SeniorsInNeed.
Welcome, Mr. Cook.
Thank you. What happened in 1985, I am sort of a serial entrepreneur,
I was looking for a new business to start. But I wanted something with a community service element to it, not hard sell, not, something when you go to work in the morning, you feel good about yourself. So I came up with the idea of employing junior seniors to help senior seniors. So my average worker is 65, and my average customer used to be 85, now it's 90, 95. So I'm employing people who are unemployable simply because of their age. I'm helping the seniors stay out of nursing homes, which they all want to do. But as a result of that business, we're in Kitchener, London, and 8 offices now. As a result of that business, I saw a lot of poverty out there. People would phone up. One in particular I remember distinctly. She was in Oshawa, had to get chemo, had to go down to Princess Margaret, couldn't afford to get down from Oshawa to Princess Margaret. And the not-for-profits, the volunteers, couldn't do it because they crossed too many borders. So that was out. So I dreamt up the contest to give $10,000 away for a year, each month for a year for 2 different seniors, and the Linkerts are June 1st, first of every month they cash that check, and it's really working out for them and the other person as well. So, but what happened was Avis Favreau found out about what I was doing and got us on national TV. There was another show as well, and a couple others. And we got swamped with donors, people wanting to help out, these impoverished seniors. I mean, some pretty severe cases, as you can imagine. So she was right. Over the holidays at Christmas time, I thought, why not something like a Facebook for seniors in need? So what happens now, we've gone national. What we found was the donors want to keep the money in their own community. They want to keep, if they live in Montreal, they want to keep Montreal. Regina, they want to keep Regina. Oakville, they want to keep in Oakville. And they want to, what they like about it was that the not-for-profits, the VONs, the Meals on Wheels organizations, CCACs, they see the poverty in place in the community. So they're nonpartisan submitters of a profile of the seniors who need help. So when they submit that in the website, a donor in Moncton can go in and say, hey, there's a couple of submissions here. I can help out that person. I can afford to give them a couple $100 towards a wheelchair or whatever else they need. So it's really a new way of giving, as I call it, because there's no intermediary. There's no big charity with big offices, and some of these charities, as you know, have offices all over the city. The money goes directly from the donor to the recipient and in real time. Now, we have a few issues with privacy, but we tell the not-for-profits have the check made out to the, non-identifyingly to the recipient, and rather than have the address go, the check go to the person's address, it goes to the not-for-profit who can then pass it on to the recipient. We saw VON actually this morning, and VON is submitting lots of seniors in need to us, too many. I mean, it's too bad there's so many. And they're saying in Peel, they had a real shortage of volunteers. Thanks to appearing on these TV shows, they now have lots of volunteers. They had to set up special training sessions for the influx of volunteers who saw the TV shows. So it's really been a remarkable success. The website is called seniorsinneed.ca, and I've got some, I'll leave these here wherever you want, Mr. Mayor, and you can go in. Right now, we're in the happy situation where we've got so many donors, and we really need the not-for-profits to crank up and submit names. We're getting a whole bunch in from Ottawa right now. They got 400 social workers beating the bushes. So it's really getting very, very big, and I'm financing it, and I'm getting a little worried that I can't handle everything. But it's been a very nice success story. There are lots of seniors in need. By the way, in Oakville, a not-for-profit could put anybody's name on and say they need $50 for a monthly pass. They get somebody will donate, I'm certain, so they can use the public transit for $50 a month, and people will do that. We get checks in the office, and we're seniors for seniors, and have to send them back because it goes directly to the recipient, not to me.
Thank you very much for your information, Councillor Elgar.
thank you for coming tonight and showing us this video and also your talk afterwards. You're certainly the exception to the rule nowadays, where people are getting very tired of giving money and finding out that 70% goes to administration, and it's like a trickle amount going to the actual person. You, in fact, are, I just got to be clear here. If I gave $100 to you,
Yes.
$100 goes to the recipient?
Yeah.
Not one penny to administration?
Nothing. It goes directly through. And that's what I like about it. That's the whole beauty of it all. I don't make any money. I just maintain the website and had the idea and promote it. And so if VON and Peel, you write a check to them, not payable to them, payable to the recipient, they just hand it over to the recipient. $100, $100.
So who pays for the administration that has to happen behind the scenes?
Well, the way the website's set up, well, we do, but we're trying to minimize we have to approve all the not-for-profits. So somebody shady can't go in and register as a not-for-profit. So the not-for-profit has to register first, and then when they make their submissions, we have to approve their submissions as well. So Seniors for Seniors does all that. But it's not a huge load, because the not-for-profits really are qualifying the recipients, and they're qualifying the donors. So I don't have to go through a big rigmarole. They do that.
Do you give tax receipts? Or
No.
Nobody, so there are no tax
When
receipts
I appeared in that
issued?
program, one fellow sent a $25 in from Windsor and wanted a tax receipt. It cost me $25 to issue the cash receipt.
So I was trying to
And
figure out
there's
how
no
you could do
mailing
that.
list either. You know, some charities you go on, and boy, once you donate to that charity, you're toast. Every month you get a notice wanting more. No, nothing.
Thank you for what you're doing. Really, I'm glad you did come tonight. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Don't run away. Councillor Khan has questions for you.
Thank you, Peter, for coming out today. You obviously deal with seniors on a day-to-day basis, and you understand that the motion that we have on the floor today is, or that will be on the floor, is to allow seniors 1 day a week free.
Yes.
And to some that might seem trivial. From your experience, what kind of impact will that have on the lives of
I think
seniors?
it'll be positive. People rearrange their lives for that. Seniors will rearrange their weekly, monthly schedule just for that. I think it's a very good idea. Not as good as mine.
Thank you very much for your information, sir.
Thank you.
So much for not tooting his own horn, eh?
All right, Madam Clerk.
Next delegation is Garth Brown, here to speak to the free public transit for seniors.
Welcome, Mr. Brown. Council looks forward to your information.
Thank you, Mayor Burton. Mayor Burton, councillors, town staff, and fellow public, I thank you for this opportunity for community engagement, and especially thank Councillor Khan and Councillor Dama for their motion put forward. Their shared proposal for increasing the mobility for seniors in Oakville is exciting. It's a step forward, and the people who will benefit most from it are not in this room tonight. I suspect most, if not all of us, drove here, got out of our cars, and were able to swiftly move up the stairs. The people who will benefit from this are in their homes right now and are maybe worried about running out of money before they run out of month. I'd like to address my very brief delegation tonight, surprisingly brief, to two specific words: integrity and spontaneity. As Mr. Cook just touched on, seniors will be able to change their lives because of the motion on the floor tonight. They will be able to anticipate, rely on, and look forward to a day when they can freely move around our community and enjoy all of Oakville and all that Oakville has to offer. Many previous, and I'm sure many future discussions around Oakville Transit have been and will be focused on dollars and cents, Revenue and expenses will always play a role as we move forward with budgeting decisions. But I respectfully propose that giving seniors of all backgrounds, of all income levels, and of all levels of mobility the chance to move around with spontaneity and integrity is priceless. Please recognize the significant role and contributions our seniors have made to Oakville, to Ontario, to our country. Please allow them, through this pilot, to enjoy the freedom of mobility many of them have not had for years. Please vote in favor of this resolution and let seniors enjoy a truly livable town. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Brown, for your information. Questions? Thank you, sir. Thank you. Madam Clerk, the next delegation.
Next delegation is Janet Haslett Thial on behalf of the Joshua Creek Residents Association on driving schools, item 3 of ASC.
Ms. Haslett-Thiel, welcome. Council looks forward to your information.
I'm actually going to speak on 2 issues. Maybe not.
You may be able to.
Okay. I'm going to touch on the drive test center, and I also want to touch on the election signs. Surprise, surprise. So as the president of Joshua Creek Residents Association, I first want to applaud the efforts of residents in our area, particularly Jerry and Pamela tonight. As you could hear, they have gone the distance to make sure that they worked in a neighborly way with drive tests. I'm going to call them drive tests because that's how we all know them. And I don't think we could have asked them to go any further. And they truly have shown perseverance and tried to mediate some sort of solution for the residents. So on behalf of JCRA, we thank them for their engagement. We also applaud the Administrative Services Committee for the motion that came forward and hope that it will pass tonight. I do want to emphasize 3 things that jump out at us. The first is there is no motivation on the part of the drive test to solve this problem. I mean, really, that's the bottom line. There is no compelling reason to change their behavior. And without you creating some sort of angst for them, they won't change. And so while the motion, that as it's tabled, is good, I would suggest that you need to dig deeper, whether it's your relationships with MPP Flynn, or whether it is with Mayor McCallion, and invite them to join their lovely town. We need to do more to support the residents who have persevered. Additionally, I'd like to remind you that the air quality in the JCRA Clarkson area has always been identified as a problem, and continuing to having the drive test there just continues to have more cars driving around, which really aren't there for the purposes of regular neighborhood living. So once again, JCRA would like you to not only pass tonight's motion, but we would really appreciate it if you could include in that motion something that will require a report back on a meeting with MPP Flynn and specific actions that the province would work in conjunction with the town on to address the issue. So those are my comments in regards to the drive test. I understand tonight that the election signs may come up again, and I just want to reiterate a few comments that I made previously, in fact, June 20th last year. I will not read my entire delegation from before, but I will hit the highlights. JCRA stands firmly that election signs are a democratic issue. This is not about sustainability. This is not about engineering and construction. This is about democracy at work and about making sure that people are aware and engaged in the democratic process. In fact, my comments before were to say that some advocates are saying signs are a distraction, but why does the town sell signage on mediums to businesses? Why do businesses want signage on medians? Because they want name recognition. The most important process we should be advertising in an election is an election and our candidates. I also want to point out that I emphasize that you should focus on the positive when you think about election signs. In fact, the positive is Oakville had a 10% greater voter turnout than Burlington, 20% greater than Mississauga. Even if signs play only a small part in ensuring people take their civic responsibility seriously, you should not pass a bylaw that could have a negative impact on election turnout. In fact, we need to increase the engagement of our residents in the process and stand out even more as a community that is aware and supportive of the process. And I marveled at all the awards tonight that were being celebrated, and I heard repeatedly about we want to be the best of the best, and we want to stand apart. Well, I encourage you to stand apart and really stand up for democracy tonight. Some of the suggestions we made before were to regulate the number of signs to create a fair playing field, to regulate recycling. In fact, I didn't see that in the staff report, and I think that's a big miss on the part of the staff. I think you could consider higher fines, and I think you need to make it clear to the candidates when they engage in wanting to be a part of this process, they have an accountability to ensure their volunteers act appropriately. An election sign is a symbol of democracy. It's a celebration of our right to vote and our responsibility to participate. Of all the places it should be on public areas. Public property is all our property. Signage on it ensures that everyone who is a registered candidate can have visibility and access to the opportunity to be considered for an election position. It is a sign of respect for people of equal access, so people can have equal access to participate. Symbols do matter. That is why we wear poppies and celebrate Remembrance Day. That is why you have a moment of silence tonight. Election signs are a symbol of democracy, and signage during the election is a small price to pay for the value and importance they have in protecting the roots of democracy. On behalf of JCRA, I would remind you that we are better than some of our counterparts. We should stand up for election signs and ensure that people are aware of who's participating and wants to be a part of engagement in our society. Thank you.
Thank you for your information. Are there questions? Thank you very much for bringing your information. Madam Clerk?
That concludes the list of delegations.
Thank you very much to everyone who brought information to Council. Council, that brings us to your standing committee reports, and the first item I think we should take up is the item that Community Services Committee referred to this meeting, which is item number 11 in your report, the presentation on the downtown work. Is Ms. Closey here? Council, I asked staff to bring this to the full council rather than have its exposure limited only to half of council at committee, because the downtown is so important to all of us. And if you'll give your attention to the commissioner now.
Mayor and members of council, the purpose of the presentation and the report in the community services agenda was to bring to you a study that staff would be undertaking on the downtown, and specifically its cultural redevelopment plan for Centennial Square, as well as other important components within the downtown. By way of background, the town has approved several documents, including the Cultural Master Plan in 2009, as well as the Downtown Strategic Action Plan in 2010. And I would note actually the previous Parks and Rec and Cultural Master Plan had included a similar recommendation that Centennial Square was a key to the downtown and its establishment of a cultural hub. So in terms of the planning that has been done, there has been several reports that council has supported this concept for the Centennial Square area. Specific to the buildings themselves, there has been some building assessments done on the Centennial Square properties or buildings on that area, and they have identified that there is some restoration and some retrofit upgrades that need to be made to those facilities. In addition, there was a strategic business plan that had been brought forward to council that concluded that we needed to refine what was the market that we needed to provide for in the Oakville Performing Arts Centre. And in addition, the Parks and Rec Master Plan, the draft plan that's now out for consultation, is looking at some improvements to the Centennial Pool and whether or not the Centennial Pool should be located in that location. In addition, there was some additional funding that was allocated in the 2012 budget to actually carry out this study. So that's the background context for the study. The purpose of the study is to define a revitalization plan for Centennial Square. It has been identified as a mixed-use cultural precinct with an open space feature, particularly at the corner of Navy and Lakeshore. The study will also examine the former post office site that the town recently acquired, as well as other town facilities within the downtown that support the cultural hub concept. So this map shows each of the properties that the town currently owns within the downtown. And again, the area around Centennial Square is being noted as a significant element of the cultural hub. The study objective is to meet the cultural master plan that was approved in 2009, as well as the downtown strategic action plan that was in 2010, and of course the vision that's set out in the Livable Oakville official plan. And as well, it is needed to achieve the objective of being achievable within our capital and operating budgets. In terms of the background analysis, the study will look at the physical elements within the sites themselves, building assessments, which has to a great extent already been done, but also the policy and legislative requirements. The accessibility legislation certainly has put a significant demand on the Performing Arts Centre, and that needs to be assessed. There was also heritage elements within that area, particularly the post office site, which needs to be understood, as well as environmental concerns with the valley within that area. The third area is looking at the market and the need for cultural facilities, understanding the facilities that have been built in the general GTA area and what implications that has on the types of facilities we should be offering in this location, as well as to understand the galleries, the library, and other types of cultural facilities that could locate supporting the vision of the downtown. And the third major area is the financial partnerships and the tools. So there is limited funding within the DC bylaw for any type of cultural type of facility. So we need to look at a full range of options. They could include design, build, operate financing models similar to the new hospital, which is also on the agenda tonight, but all in an attempt to try and minimize the impact on the tax levy, both in terms of the capital as well as the operating facilities. So at this point in time, we've identified 3 options to look at. There may be others as we work through the study. One is a retrofit of the existing facilities on the site to essentially serve the same purposes that they do at this point in time. A second would be a redevelopment into an expanded facilities that would provide for a broader range of cultural facilities. And the third is a mix of public and private uses. So it really generates that mixed use cultural node that was spoken about in the cultural plan as well as the downtown action plan. In terms of the criteria, we've established some of those initial criteria that we've identified with, again, the market and financial sustainability of a facility of that type, both in the capital as well as the operating side, achieving the downtown vision and Livable Oakville, as well as the master plans that the town has undertaken. Public engagement needs to be a key component of this study, and specifically we're looking for public engagement on what type of cultural facilities would we want in the downtown, what is that evaluation criteria that we'd use to evaluate the products that could be built on the site, and then how does the site itself or the buildings proposed actually fit and work on the site itself. So there'll be a broad public engagement as part of this, a variety of forms. You could see that design charrettes, those types of functions would fit very well with this type of study. The key deliverable is to provide the town with a preferred development strategy or redevelopment strategy that meet the objectives. So out of this, we will have a plan that will give us a means to go forward in actually building those facilities. The project team will build both the internal staff as well as subject experts, and we expect to have the study proposal finalized in the fall of 2012, and we're looking for completion in Q2 of 2013. And I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you very much for the presentation. Questions? Councillor Bird.
Thank you very much for your presentation. If you would you roll back the slide on the public-private option, and can you point out to me examples in, I guess, in the GTA of what that would sort of look like? Is that just commercial or a public facility on the bottom floor with the residential or something on top, or how does that work?
Yeah, the form of housing could be a mixed use, so you'd have a residential on top with cultural facilities or some mix in that. But I think also the alternative procurement is not only how you build it, but also how you operate it. So there could be opportunities where a private sector could actually program some of that space and be involved in the programming of it.
But it'd be publicly owned but privately operated sort of facility. Could you just point me to an example that comes to mind that I could look at that sort of would follow that model?
Councillor, we have two. The gymnastic club and the soccer club are both examples where the town owns it and people other than the town operate it. So there are many possibilities.
That's a sports event where we own the property. Yeah, I wasn't thinking of those like yacht clubs. We have a number of those, but I didn't think of one down here. But if that's what you're following, I understand that. Thank you.
Okay. Thanks very much, Councillor. Other questions? Then a mover and a seconder to receive this presentation. Councillor Knoll, thank you. Councillor Duddick, thank you. All in favor? Opposed? The item is received. Thank you, Commissioner, for that. Council, I understand on community services that there may be a desire to separate an item. Councillor Demoff?
I would like to amend the item on the smoking in public space, and I've actually, based on a conversation I had with Councillor Adams just prior to council, I wondered if I could put it on, or we could put it on the screen.
I'm sure we can. If you, does the clerk have it? So to be clear on procedure, we've separated the item so that it can be dealt with separately from the committee report.
Your worship, I'd like to separate 5.
Well, Councillor, let's, thank you. I'll make a note, but let's deal with this one first, okay?
So my original intention had been to ask council to endorse option 1, which was a complete ban on smoking in town parkland and open spaces. I've amended it somewhat, and I'll just read it, that a ban on smoking on town parkland and open spaces, as well as lands that include community centers, fire stations, libraries, and other town facilities be endorsed, and that staff be requested to carry out a public consultation program to include options 1 and 2 from the staff report in accordance with corporate policy, and report back on the public input received with regard to this matter prior to consideration by the 2013 Budget Committee. The reason I've changed it is that I think it's important that council endorse the ban in a broad sense and then go out to the public to look at what options would be best for us to move forward on. Option 1 contemplates a complete ban. Option 2 looks at a partial ban that would be within 9 meters or a certain distance from parkland and the community centers. I think there's over 50 municipalities that have passed outdoor smoke-free bylaws to protect the health of their citizens. Children do not have a choice about exposure to secondhand smoke on our sports fields, parks, playgrounds, or on their way to sporting or the library, and so many other town-owned spaces. Young children especially are not able to choose to relocate away from secondhand smoke. A Stanford University study cited by the Canadian Cancer Society revealed that depending on air conditions, average levels of smoke within half a meter from a single cigarette source are comparable to indoor levels. By endorsing the ban, Town Council will begin the process of protecting our most vulnerable citizens. So that's what I'm putting forward.
All right, Councillor. So to be clear, the changes are to do the consultation before the ban?
No, that we endorse a ban and decide what options, what form the ban will take. In principle, we would smoke a ban on, or endorse a ban. In principle, we would support a ban on smoking on town parkland.
Councillor Duddick.
Thank you, Your Worship. I guess your question is where I was going myself, in the respect that I think we should be going to the members of the public to consult whether or not they are in favor or supportive of moving forward with the ban. So I have a little bit of a problem when you say endorse, if what you're implying is you're going to move forward with the ban, or we're basically saying yes to a ban in absence of having public consultation. I mean, I have no problem moving forward with public consultation, but I do have a problem endorsing something or implementing a ban, which is the way I'm perceiving it, in absence of the public's consultation.
All right, thank you, Councillor. Councillor Adams.
In light of the fact that we have many items on the agenda tonight, all of which have brought numbers of the public to council, I'd like to refer this item to the next council meeting for us to have some time to consider how to deal with it in a more complete fashion.
Okay, a motion to refer is not debatable and it takes precedence. All those in favor? Those opposed? It carries. The item is referred.
We need a seconder.
And I need a seconder for that. I was a little hasty, but there's I will take Councillor Elgar. Councillor Robinson, item number 5.
Yeah, thank you, Your Worship. Clause 3 was not included in the Community Services Committee, as it probably should have been. So at this point, I would like to move that Clause 3 that's before you here this evening be added to the motion that came out of the Community Services meeting last week.
Would you like to read it?
Yeah, Clause 3 reads that staff be requested to conduct a further analysis of the marina facility in Bronte Harbor in 5 years, and that time provide recommendations for the, and that at that time provide recommendations for the continued operation of the marina facility.
Council, is there any controversy or question about this? Is there a seconder? I'm learning slowly. Councillor Khan, any discussion? All in favor? Opposed, if any? Councillor Robinson, your amendment is adopted. Is there a mover and seconder to pass or adopt the balance of the Community Services Committee report of June 12th? Councillor Duddick. And a seconder, Councillor Robinson. Any discussion or separations? All in favor? The report is adopted. That brings us to the Administrative Services Committee report, and there's a thing or two in there. Now, if I can get my notes straight here. Councillor Bird, I understand that you would like to separate the drive-in school item?
Yes, Your Worship, we have some additional wordage for that item.
Okay, would you like to share it with the public?
Councillor Giddings, you.
Councillor Giddings, then.
Always happy to assist. As Councillor Adams mentioned, I believe he read it out earlier, moved by myself that the Administrative Services Committee recommendation regarding item 3 be amended by the addition of the following clause. that staff be requested to bring forward an amendment to Schedule 12 of Bylaw 2008-093 to prohibit driving school operators from conducting driving instruction upon any street used by Drive Test Oakville as test route number 3 in the Clearview subdivision, and that upon passage of the bylaw amendment, appropriate signage be erected on these streets accordingly. Just in terms of clarification, that this drive route is not south of Cornwall. It's in the Clearview area, and it was added as a route, bringing it up to date.
Okay. So will we show you moving it and Councillor Bird seconding it? Is that the
That'll be
wish?
fine.
All right. Is there discussion of this item? May I put it to a vote? All in favor? Opposed, if any? That is adopted. Now, that brings us, I think, to the item concerning election signs. And the reason I'm separating it is because there's a procedural difficulty with this item. Actually, there's two difficulties. First, we already voted not to ban election signs, and this will require reconsideration. And what we actually, the actual resolution told staff, if you'll turn to the page you can read, told staff to develop regulations. And so it's a bit of a surprise that what has come back is a proposal to ban. And that's fine. I understand it passed with 7 votes at the committee, and it only takes 9 to reconsider. So it may very well pass reconsideration, and it may very well pass. But I would like to separate it also for the purpose of having a recorded vote, because I would like to, in a gentlemanly way, just register that I don't agree with banning signs. It's certainly within council's prerogative, and I don't want to make a big deal of it. I just want to be consistent with the position I've taken over the years, that I got here using public property for my signs, and I just don't feel right about sort of pulling up the ladder now that I'm elected. So we'll need a mover and a seconder for reconsideration of the item, and then a vote on the item and a recorded vote on the item. Are there movers and seconders?
Your Worship, can I just get some understanding? Usually with a vote on reconsideration, it has to be made by a percentage of those who voted in favor of the motion, correct?
Reconsideration can only be moved by someone who voted in favor of the item to be reconsidered.
So do we have a record of those who, rather than us trying to rely on memory, who did vote in favor of it?
No, it was not a recorded vote. Councillor Dumoff.
It was at the committee.
Can I see a copy of the resolution that we passed?
It's actually in the report before you. Page 36. Thank you, Councillor Bird. So, who remembers voting in?
Oh, this is the one from Administrative Services, though.
Your
Where's
Worship.
the one, the original one that you said we need to reconsider?
No.
Where's that resolution?
I don't have it, but I clearly recall it.
But I don't clearly recall it.
The item before us was not to develop a ban, it was to develop regulation, because we had refused to ban it. So anyway, you just need a mover and seconder for reconsideration. I'm confident it'll pass.
Well, I don't
just
think
gotta-
you need a reconsideration. This is just a recommendation of the committee. If you're deeming that the coming back is contrary to the direction of a previous council, then all we have to do is defeat that and send this back.
This council last year.
This council, and as I say, it come out of the committee. There wasn't a recorded vote. I did chair the meeting, and we had 6 people there. I believe it carried out 3-2.
Yeah. Councillor Demo.
On page 56 of the Administrative Services Committee, it says that in June 2011, Council adopted the proposed changes to the sign bylaw with the exception of the proposed amendments, that staff be requested to report back with options for Council's consideration to regulate election signs on public property, and that staff be requested to solicit input from members of the public in development of options. Both of those are what they have proposed and what we passed. So what are we reconsidering?
We voted there was a vote to ban election signs and it failed. So I'm just saying,
Bishop, just
I don't
a
recall
point,
that.
point of information, and I agree with you. I recall that there was a vote to ban it, and it failed. Given the confusion here, is this a matter that we need to deal with today, or can we actually go back and look at our records and determine who voted in favor or against, and perhaps more, appropriately deal with it?
you
But
could
there
refer
might-
it
there
to
might
the
be a
next,
video.
you could refer it to the next council meeting.
Might not be a recorded vote, but I trust there's a video of it.
Well, it was, anyway, are you suggesting we refer the matter to the next council meeting?
I am, Your Worship.
Council, the suggestion is that we refer it to the next council meeting for the purpose of additional research. All those in favor of referral? Oh, I need a seconder. Councilor Elgar is a seconder, sorry. In favor of referral? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Against? 1. Referral carries. Hey, it's a collegial thing. We're just moving along here. Now we need a motion and a seconder for the balance of the Administrative Services Committee report, unless there are other separations. Councillor Khan is moving. Councillor Johnston is seconding. Other separations? All in favor? Against? The report is adopted. All right, that brings us, sooner than I thought, actually, congratulations on the efficiency so far, to the first discussion item on the agenda, which is the update that Council asked for on the Halton Healthcare Services new Oakville Hospital. And we have here distinguished visitors, being the chair of the board of Halton Healthcare Services, the distinguished Mr. John Fleming, who has had quite the career, starting, well, I can't say starting, but as he was at one point CAO of the region of Halton. So, and a deputy minister. He's a very, very accomplished Oakville resident. And with you are some of your staff, Mr. Fleming.
I'll introduce them, Your Worship.
Council is very much looking forward to your information. As I understand it, many of us visited the mock-up of the some of the new features of the new hospital.
Thank you very much, Your Worship, and members of Council, for the opportunity to be here tonight. I don't know how to activate my my slides.
Well, we'll get you some technical help, and we need you to be speaking in the general direction of the microphone. That should be good enough, and here comes technical assistance right now.
Thank you very much. It's a real pleasure to be here tonight on behalf of Halton Healthcare Services. It seems to both myself and the board that it's very important that the town of Oakville Council be recognized as the largest single donor to the new Oakville Hospital project, and as a part of that, for us to keep you up to date on this very important project. And before I launch into my remarks, I'd like to congratulate the town for this veritable feast of awards and recognition for your initiatives and your accomplishments in the environmental area. And I'm happy to tell you that the new Oakville Hospital is striving for LEED Silver, and we're inspired by your success in reaching the gold level in the 16-mile sports complex, and we'll push hard to match your record in that respect. I have with me tonight Bill Bailey, who is the Vice President of Redevelopment for Halton Healthcare Services, and Trish Carlton and Andrea Corral, who are parts of the Public and Community Relations team. I have a few images that I'd like to show you tonight, and again, before I do that, I want to say thank you to Commissioner Lalonde for his report to Council on the project, and more importantly, to thank you for sending the Commissioner to our Capital Planning Advisory Committee. He not only has been a diligent member of that committee, but he asks the tough questions on your behalf when they need to be asked. Thank you, Commissioner, for your support. Now, I think, with any luck, there we go. We began this project as a board quite a few years ago with a vision. And that vision, which is before you, continues to drive all stages of this project. all of the detailed planning and execution of the new Oakville Hospital. I'm not going to read that vision statement to you, but I want to point out a few key words. Healthcare excellence, efficient use of resources, innovative, and meeting the physical, emotional, and spiritual needs of the community. Those are all parts of the vision statement that was approved by the Board of Directors some 7 or 8 years ago. But the most important of the words in that vision statement in my mind are the words patient-centered. That's really what's driving the project. I'd like to show you the timeline for the project. And you'll see that in June of 2012, we're at the concrete pouring stage. And in a moment, I'm going to show you some pictures of that. But I think it's important now that we're at a stage in the project where the people of Oakville and surrounding area can actually see what's happening. For quite a few months, we've been doing site preparation where passersby really weren't able to see a great deal of what was going on the site. A lot of grading and groundwork. We're now pouring concrete. That's where we expected to be in June 2012, and that's where we are. I might just draw your attention quickly to the previous entry on the timeline, which is 100% design development. There have been literally hundreds of meetings with 52 different staff and physician teams that have led to Halton Healthcare Services being sure, very sure, that we have the design the way we want it and the way we need it to deliver excellent health care into the future. Out at the far end of that timeline, you'll see that substantial completion is set for July 2015 and transfer of the first patients in late fall of 2015. Our current working date for that is the first week of December. That would be the time when the first patients are transferred or admitted into the new Oakville Hospital. And I'm very pleased to tell you that at this moment, we are on time, well on time with this project, and well on budget. Let me also draw your attention to the words at the bottom of that chart, operational readiness. These are our words for being totally ready to provide excellent care from the very first moment a patient enters the building. It's a huge task when you consider the cumulative effect of a new building, new equipment, new systems, new procedures, and new technology, and in some cases, new staff. We're hard at that planning already. It's a long-term process. We're aggressively at it under the very capable leadership of Denise Hardin, HHS's Executive Vice President. Now, I expect most of you have seen the overall site design, and I don't plan to spend very much time on this tonight, given your busy agenda. But you'll know that there are 4 basic blocks in the way the site is being structured. And you'll know that there is an active plan for circulation around the site. I think that's really important for the town to know and appreciate, particularly having listened to the discussion tonight about public transit, so that people can access the site and move around the site easily by means of bike, car, pedestrians, and indeed public transit. We provided for a lot of landscaping around the site in keeping with our desire for there to be as much natural environment as possible around the new hospital for patient-centered reasons, and of course strong connections to the community and to nature. Let me show you a couple of photographs. Now, unfortunately, this photograph is a few days ago, but it gives you an aerial view of what's going on in the site. And I think you begin to appreciate the magnitude of the site when you can see Dundas on the right side of the photograph there, and the massive work that's proceeding. We're happy to advise also that we have now 6 cranes. Commissioner, your report said 5. We've added another one just to make you wrong. We now have 6 cranes on the site and are actively progressing. Sanitary and storm sewer work is now 95% complete. The detailed excavation of the site is now 50% complete, and form work is underway. Here you'll see some of that grading work I mentioned earlier. You'll see here that form work is underway, and as I mentioned a moment ago, concrete pouring also underway. I thought that you might like to have a quick look at the most recent renderings of some of the interior parts of the new Oakville Hospital, and I want to say a thank you to those councillors who were able to take the time today and attend the mock-up room, and for any of you who weren't able to be there, we'll certainly keep the invitation open. If you'd like to be in touch with us, we'd be happy to show you what we're doing. This is the main lobby of the new Oakville Hospital, and I think you'd have to agree it's a far cry from the lobby of the current Oakville Trafalgar Memorial Hospital. We've paid a lot of attention to waiting spaces, trying to ensure that they are pleasant and airy spaces for people who are waiting for care or waiting for someone who is receiving care. Again, a far cry from our current environment. We're also doing a lot of work on wayfinding in the new Oakville Hospital, doing our level best to make sure that patients and families can easily find their way around a building that is much, much larger and more complex than what we have now. I know for any of you who, if you're like me and you're finding a way around a building that's large and complicated, particularly if you're under the stress that goes with being in a situation of needing to be in hospital, it's really helpful if it's easy to find your way around, and there's a lot of effort and a lot of work going in to make that easy for visitors to the hospital. This is an image of the new cafeteria, open and bright and welcoming again for staff and for patients and visitors alike. Those of you who saw the inpatient room today will have a more real sense of what that room looks like. It's designed very much around that patient-centered notion. You can't see it easily from this photograph, but for example, the window on the end of the bed where the patient's head would be drops down to much lower sill level so that a patient lying in bed can actually see out and see something other than sky and clouds. And I know from family members of mine who have been in hospital recently, that's a really important feature. This mock-up room has been a tremendous asset to us. We have had literally hundreds of staff and physicians through that space already. We've learned a great deal from those visits. We've made a number of important design tweaks as an important part of our planning based on the experience of staff. And for those of you who are here today, we also did a mock-up of a nursing station, and we've benefited enormously from the input of staff as to the way that's designed for optimal effectiveness for them as well. We also mocked up a third room, which is a post-anesthesia recovery room, where a lot of procedure happen, and again, that's been important for technical staff in the new hospital to make sure that the built space meets the needs of people who are going to work there. You'll know that 80 to 85% of the patient rooms in the new Oakville Hospital are single rooms. That's a big benefit for recovering patients. It's a big benefit for the support of their families, and we know that having the presence of family when someone is ill and hospitalized is a significant factor in speedy recovery. It's also of huge value in fighting infection, which unfortunately is a part of healthcare today. There are many, many features which we discussed with those counselors who are able to attend today in this new environment that are geared to preventing transfer of infectious diseases. Patients too will see a lot more technology in the final design of these rooms, and I think that they will find that enhances their experience as well. There's an enormous challenge in doing the planning for information and communications technology. We're actively working on that throughout the hospital, and that includes in patient rooms. And last but not least, the furniture that will be in these patient rooms has been spec'd with a view to making it comfortable for family members as well as the patients for those family members who are going to spend time with their loved one while they're in hospital. A word about the work of the Oakville Hospital Foundation. A couple of members of council, thank you, Councillor Giddings and Councillor Adams, for being present for the update on May 28th from the new Oakville Hospital Capital Campaign. Co-chairs Eve Willis and Bill Cooper were delighted to be able to announce that the campaign has now reached the $48 million mark. That's 80% of the $60 million goal. Over the next while, the public campaign, and I'll show you more about that in a moment, will unfold. But I can't leave this slide without again expressing gratitude to Town Council for its remarkable commitment to this project. We know that was a difficult decision and we appreciate it. We would not be where we are today if it weren't for this council and the support of the town. As I said, the May 28th event launched what we call the public part of the capital campaign. It's all on the basis of the theme of It All Starts Here, and it represents now the next stage in the largest fundraising campaign in the history of Oakville. And over the next 3 years, the foundation will be working with the community to raise the $12 million needed to close the gap between the current success of $48 million and the target of $60 million. Your Worship, I'm well aware of the length of your agenda tonight. I certainly am not here with any requests or any problems or issues to bring to the Council's attention, but simply to bring you an update, to express our thanks and our appreciation for the support that you have given us in the past and that you continue to give us. And I would be happy to answer any questions, perhaps with the support of Mr. Bailey, if any of those questions are beyond my pay grade.
I can grant your request. Councillor Elgar has a question for you.
First of all, thank you for coming this evening and giving us this presentation.
Pleasure.
You made the comment that we can see what's happening now. And actually, I've got quite a few residents who aren't very happy with what they are seeing after dark. The lights seem to be directed into everyone's bedroom windows. And I'm wondering whether on your drive home tonight you could take a look yourself at the residents that live south of Dundas, if something could be done, because Councillor Lapworth and I are getting a number of complaints about they can't stand the lighting which is shining down and towards them. It's unless you go and see it yourself, it's hard to understand. But if maybe if you could arrange to have them to look at redirecting the light so it doesn't point towards all the housing. I appreciate it.
I live nearby, Councillor, and I'll be happy to drive home that way tonight. That concern was brought to our attention actually for the first time earlier today, and we will certainly be looking into that to see what can be done about it. I appreciate you raising it for us.
Thank you. In fact, it does meet the town's bylaws, so like what you're doing is legal. But the people aren't very happy with the comments I've received back.
I appreciate that. We'll look into it for certain.
So don't offend your donor. Councillor Adams?
Thank you very much also for this morning when you gave me a little bit of your time to tour the mock-up rooms. Will members of the media who might be here tonight have a chance to go in and take a look around and maybe take a few photos? I think it would be very helpful for members of the public to, through the media, be able to get a little bit of exposure to some of that. It was very interesting to see, and it's amazing the detailed work that's going into trying to figure out exactly how everything's going to function for the staff who are going to work there and the patients and their families that are going to be in that space.
I'm sure we can arrange that. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Knoll?
Thank you, Worship. Hello, Chair Fleming. I'm curious how the plan has evolved to deal with the HVAC changes. There was the whole change between the cogeneration facility that was going to exist to being incorporated on site. How has that been incorporated into the site now?
A central utility plant is being located on the where are you, Bill? On the top of the tower, I believe. But Bill can answer better than I. Bailey.
Councillor Knoll, the inpatient tower that you can see before you now, you'll notice that there's a portion of the building that raises above the top floor. of the building. That is actually where the central utilities plant is located. So it's moved from a separate standalone facility to be incorporated into the building itself. So all the performance specs on heating and cooling will be met through a central utilities plant.
Does that facility on the main building, does that serve all of the facilities, or is there something like that on the other buildings as well?
No, all the facilities will be
Served from that one site.
That's
So there's sort of a mini district heating cooling system, as it were.
Yeah, well, the other buildings will have air handling equipment on the roof to push the air through them, but the main chillers, boilers, and whatnot will be on the roof of the building.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor. Well, thank you very much, Mr. Fleming, for your detailed report, and we look forward to further updates as they're appropriate. Councillor Knoll?
Perhaps this is a question for you or for Mr. Green. If you want to finish thanking our guests, then I'd be happy to pose it to you on this issue.
I need a mover and seconder to receive the presentation. Councillor Knoll, Councillor Lapworth, all in favor? Opposed to Finney? Thank you very much to HHS. Councillor Knoll.
Thank you, Worship. I just wanted an update in terms of when Council will be getting more information on the financing plan. I know that staff are working diligently on it. I'm just wondering if we can get a timeline as to when we might get an update on that.
We're planning to present that later this year.
By the end of the calendar year. Great, thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Knoll. That brings us to, I believe, item number 2, free public transit for seniors, moved by Councillor Khan, seconded by Councillor Demoff. Councillor Khan?
Thank you very much. Before we begin, I think that we could put the motion up on the overhead. There has been a slight change to the motion.
The motion is so long that you won't be able to get it all on the overhead and still have anyone read it on the screen.
All right, well,
but perhaps you'd like to zoom in on the change.
Well, just for clarification, the motion is now amended to state that the pilot project that we're considering will end at the end of 6 months. The end date will be December 31st, 2012.
Okay.
Well, I think if we've learned anything today, that is that in Oregon, even coyotes get to take the transit for free. I was thinking about how to start my submissions today, and I think that David really summed it up most aptly in the Oakville Beaver, where he writes, "Free transit day for seniors is long overdue." 1/3 of our seniors are living on the brinks of poverty. This is again a gender inequality issue. Women, female seniors are twice as likely to deal with poverty than their male counterparts. Race again plays an issue. 65% of visible minorities who are also seniors are considered to be low income. So what do? What's the solution for this? For me, it's easy. I need more money, I put in more billable hours. Someone else might start their own business. Someone else might work overtime. Someone else might have a second job. Seniors are not afforded that luxury. Seniors are not afforded those opportunities. Most seniors are living on a fixed income and are struggling with the real costs of living. So what's this motion about? This motion is about allowing seniors 1 day a week to take the transit for free. Not a day that I'll pick, not a day that Councillor Demoff will pick or the mayor will pick, but our staff will tell us that on this particular day, ridership is the lowest. And this is the day that we can accommodate. It will be, as I stated, a 6-month pilot project. It will end on December 31st, 2012. At that time, we will gather all of our evidence, all the data, all the stats, all the expenses, all the ridership numbers. We'll compile them, we'll evaluate them, and then we'll give it to the budget committee. And we'll say, look at this. Tell us whether or not this is a viable project. Sadly, most of our buses are running empty these days. This is not just an issue that this council has. Previous councils have also grappled with this. We still have to pay the same overhead costs. We still have to pay for fuel, transportation, employee wages, wear and tear. These fixed costs will remain, whether or not the buses are running full or empty. Why not allow our seniors to take advantage of this opportunity? I want to be perfectly clear about this. This is not a handout. Don't you dare think of this as a handout. This is an entitlement. Seniors are not here today groveling for your compassion, my councillor friends. This is an entitlement. Seniors have contributed to the very fabric of our society. They've contributed to our GDP, our economy, our social advancements, our cultural advancements. Look around. Oakville is a prosperous town. Why? Because of the contributions and efforts that they made. It's a prosperous town, and what they're saying is, give us our piece of that prosperity. Now, I want you to listen very carefully today. Listen very carefully today, because you're going to hear a lot of different reasons why this motion should be opposed. You're going to hear rationale, arguments, justifications, objections on why this motion shouldn't pass. And if you really pay attention, I submit to you that at best, these are excuses. I want to put something up right now. Excuse me, can I have this up there, please? Thank you. I'm going to go over, let me get back to the mic. I'm going to go over some of the excuses that I've already heard when discussing with my councillor friends. The first excuse is, send it to the budget committee. And I'm being a little bit facetious here. But when we don't want to deal with something right away, when we don't want to deal with something immediately, it's a nice politically correct way of saying, we'll see. The irony here, and most of you don't even know this, we just passed a $37,000 item for lighting at the gymnastics club. We passed a $50,000 item for a roundabout in Ward 1. And I don't begrudge Councillor Johnson and Councillor Robinson. They need this in their ward. They should get it. We just passed, this council passed, a $15,000 benefit to itself. No one heard any discussion whether or not this should be referred to the budget committee. When we want to do something expeditiously, we get it done. But on this instant, we're saying send it off to the budget committee. Last week I had a call from an 86-year-old man. And he said, Max, what do you think? You think this motion is going to pass? And I said, Klaus, I really don't know. There are some councillors who are saying send it off to the 2013 budget committee. He paused and he said, 2013. Max, for the love of God, I'm 86 years old. I don't plan past next week. I was silent. I didn't know how to respond to him. I'm not saying that this shouldn't go to the budget committee. Of course it should go to the budget committee. But let's give them something to work with. Let's give them some sort of evidence so they can make a rational, educated decision. Otherwise, it's asinine. We're asking them to make a decision without any evidence whatsoever. The second excuse, I'm going to put this up as well, please. Thank you. The second excuse you're going to hear is that this is a social services program that rightfully belongs under the heading of the region. It's going to be a jurisdictional argument. The last time I checked, our buses said Oakville Transit. We determined the wages, we determined the routes, the fares, how many buses we're going to buy, where the bus stops are going to be. It's exclusively our jurisdiction, and we certainly have jurisdiction to decide whether or not we are going to let our seniors ride free on one particular day. You know, we can't possibly suggest that it's always going to be the region that has the exclusive domain of doing the right thing. We've done the right thing in the past. When it came to passing the pesticide bylaw, people told us we didn't have jurisdiction, we passed it. When it came to particulate matter, people told us we didn't have jurisdiction, we passed it. We rallied around and saved a white oak tree on Bronte Street because it was the right thing to do. I think one of the proudest days for me on this council was when Mayor Burton stood up and he said that he was going to lobby on behalf of conveying town-owned surplus lands to Habitat for Humanity. No one argued jurisdiction then. It was based on necessity, it was based on need, it was based on equity. It was the right thing to do. And again, we have an opportunity to do the right thing. Councillor Dudek supported that initiative. In fact, on her website it says that she lists that as an achievement. And I agree with her, it is an achievement for us. But to suggest that we can now hide behind the veil of jurisdiction, behind the skirts of jurisdiction, is disingenuous. The last argument, and I'm sure you'll hear many more, is this argument about need versus age. The argument is that this motion isn't thought out, because what we're saying is as long as you're 65, whether or not you're eligible, whether or not there's a need, you get to ride the transit for free. And at first blush, it makes sense. But I put this to you. A senior who has access to a vehicle, who has the financial means for a vehicle, who has the physical ability to drive, who has the mental competency to drive, will drive. It's only those seniors that truly need their service will stand in the dead of winter in a snowbank waiting for a bus. Let's leave all that for aside. To suggest that we don't do something based on age alone is a fallacy. Any senior right now can walk into a rec center, regardless of their financial needs, regardless of their eligibility, and they can get a 35% discount for their membership. They can get a discount for swimming. They can get a discount for skating. Why? Because they reached the threshold of 65. That's the only, no one is there asking them for their pay stub. No one is there asking them for their T4 slip. If they're 65 and over, they're entitled to that benefit.
Councillor, we are limited by our procedure bylaw to 5 minutes. You are now pushing 12. Do you have a finish?
If you can give me 2-3 more minutes, I'll finish up. I'd ask council's indulgence on this. This is an important matter for me.
Councillor, if you'll look at the clock, you will observe that there won't be time for everyone to have 15 minutes.
I appreciate that. I'll wrap it up as soon as I can, Your Worship. In summary, this is not about buses. This is not about transit. This is about human dignity. And you know, I'm going to give you an example that's almost offensive, and it's poor because the people that I speak of have suffered hundreds of years of oppression. But buses have not always been innocuous in our society. Buses have not always been innocuous in our history. On December 1, 1955, in Montgomery City, a bus was the impetus of change. A bus was the catalyst for change. I can't help but think that in some small way, there's a bus somewhere in Oakville that will be the catalyst for bringing about human dignity for our seniors here. I leave you with this. When we ran for council, we didn't run to fix potholes. We didn't run to make sure that the roads were plowed on time. We didn't run to make sure the garbage was picked up on time. We had an overarching, lofty goal. That was to improve the lives of people in Oakville. This is what this motion is about. You have an opportunity to commit to that ideal. There's a person here that I respect dearly. Him and I disagree quite often, but it's never compromised our friendship. And he said to me, he said, Max, you know what the difference is between a politician and a leader? A politician does the politically right thing. A leader simply does the right thing. I trust and I hope and I pray that you have the courage to be a leader today. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Khan. Other speakers? Councillor Demoff?
It won't be quite as lengthy. I agree with Councillor Khan that this initiative is long overdue, and it's one that recognizes the important contribution our seniors have made to our community. Mr. Brown had to leave, but I thought he said it really well, that seniors who would benefit from this program are not here tonight because they can't drive, because they have no way to get here. So thank you to Ruth Sheridan, Garth Brown, Peter Cook, and Michael Lansdowne, who did take the time to speak on their behalf. Financial need is only one component of why this initiative is important, but since it's been discussed, we should talk about the SPLIT program. The SPLIT program is run by the region. It's complicated, it's difficult to understand for many seniors. It requires them to fill out paperwork at the region, then get a 6-month pass from Oakville Transit if they qualify. These passes do offer a deeply discounted rate for seniors to travel on transit, but in total only 151 passes were allocated to Oakville. That's 151 people, not just seniors, because these passes are for everyone, from students to seniors and everything in between. Our quota was filled by April, thanks in large part to the outreach of our transit director. It was a trial project. We don't know if it will be continued. In fact, we don't even know if the seniors who qualified for the first 6 months will be able to get it renewed because the money has run out for Oakville. So if the SPLIT program is continued, and if it is simplified, and if it is expanded, as hard as Mr. Cole works, he will never be able to find every senior in financial need in our community. I wish he could, but he won't. The alternative we're proposing is simple and easy. It involves a walk to the bus stop 1 day a week. That's it. No paperwork, no loss of dignity proving you are someone in need, no need to reapply. We propose a free transit ride anywhere you want to go in Oakville once a week. It's simple, easy, and it's dignified. This proposal is about more than financial need. It's about dignity for our seniors. Why a 6-month trial for seniors transit? Why not? What have we got to lose? The potential benefits to our seniors goes far beyond just their financial need. There are social benefits to getting them out and about in our community. No longer will they be isolated, but rather a part of their community. There are health benefits, assisting them to be active and healthy in their community. There are obvious financial benefits. For those in need, this is an opportunity to walk to the bus stop and travel in our community without any financial worries. Helping our seniors continue to be active participants in our community. It's all about community, supporting those who've contributed all their lives and saying a small thank you to them by providing 1 day a week when they can travel for free. A simple solution that benefits so many. Seniors have been asking for this for years. Let's give it a try for 6 months and see how things go. If it works, the Budget Committee can continue it. We have nothing to lose, but our seniors have everything to gain by implementing this 6-month trial. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Demoff. Councillor Elgar?
Thank you, through your worship. This isn't an easy motion we have here tonight. I'd like to just give it a little perspective that our transit budget is $25 million. It is a huge budget, and everyone here tonight probably who are taxpayers, are already subsidizing 17.3 million of the 25 million. So we're at subsidizing transit right now at the rate of 69%. A ticket for a senior is $1.75 if you buy a book of 10. That's not an unreasonable cost for a senior, I don't believe. You can get a monthly pass and it's $50. And I'd like to thank Councillor Khan tonight for having Peter Cook come out and speak to us, where it seems that all you have to do is send an email to him, seniorsinneed.ca, and he will probably be the one sending $50 to you on a monthly basis for a ticket. And I think that's excellent, because that still allows us and the transit to not at least increase our subsidization that we're doing today beyond the 69%. I have a concern that, in fact, we're doing it for seniors for 1 day. We have a whole other sector of society that I think many people are forgetting about. We have an awful lot of single parents trying to raise children on the poverty line, and their ticket for a month is $60. You may not know it's an issue. We have an awful lot of children out there that need that money in order to get around themselves. And to offer it for 1 day for seniors and segregate everyone else that isn't available for that, I have a real problem with, unless we decide to operate with free transit, which would mean that you and I and all the taxpayers will have to kick in another 7.7 million into the budget so that we give 100% free transit. And I'm not sure whether a lot of people want tax increases. When you think at one point on the tax budget is like 1.4 million, I'm not sure that it's really a smart idea to throw it all on the existing taxpayer. I got to say that it was actually Councillor Duddick and your Mayor Burton, who were the pushers behind the $3 split pass at the region to get it implemented, to see how it worked out. And it's working out very well, and I can guarantee you at the Regional Council it will increase, and in fact what it does is it ensures that those in need will actually get the pass for $3. And I think that's admirable. What they actually were the ones on this term of council that pushed for it and promoted it and got it enforced. So I will not be supporting the motion tonight. I actually commend Councillor Khan and Councillor Demoff for bringing it forward, but at this point in time, I myself can't vote in favor of this motion, and we'll see where it goes at our budget committee when it comes forward, because this may look like small dollars, but what is not mentioned here is we already have a special transit to go to different places to pick up seniors to take them out 1 day a week, and that cost is borne on the taxpayers too, to try to help them out. So I commend them for bringing it forward, but I will not be supporting the motion. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Duddick is next.
Thank you, Your Worship. First of all, I'd like to respond to my colleague, Councillor Khan's comments about the fact that if somebody is not supporting, and maybe this is my perception, if you don't support this motion, you're making excuses. I take offense at that, okay? As far as I'm concerned, and I may not have this position shared across the table, we're entitled to question things. We're entitled to have a decision made on the best facts available. I don't feel we have that at this time. I would like to have a complete report come back to us indicating what we do in terms of our community busing. We almost lost that, and Councillor Demoff and several others on council worked quite strongly to make sure we continued that. I'm concerned that later on down the road, people will say, well, if we're giving it to them for one day, then why should we do the community busing? And they are the most vulnerable, the people who live in some of these residential homes who cannot even get out to the curbside, okay? You talked about the fact that people, seniors rather, on fixed income. Totally. But for everyone that you may have heard from, I've heard from ones who cannot even stay in their home because of the tax increase. And they keep saying to us at budget time, I can't afford the increase in these taxes the way you guys are going. And we as a council, I thought, were making conscious efforts to keep a handle on things, be very, very careful with what decisions we made that might impact that tax. Sorry, unless we're able to bring back something in terms of some sort of report, which I'd be pleased to support, I commend you for bringing it forward, but again, in absence of all the facts, I cannot support it at this time.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Knoll is next.
Well, that was quick. Okay, well, first of all, I am supporting the motion this evening. I want to thank Councillor Demoff and Councillor Khan for bringing it forward, and congratulate Councillor Khan on a very rousing and impassioned plea for this particular program. I want to make a couple points. First of all, I want to pick up on a point that Councillor Duddick just raised, and I have absolutely no question as to her best intent, but I want to clarify something. She talked about the fact that people are making decisions about staying in their homes based on taxes, and that is absolutely true, but the reality is that the people that we're talking about that would be able to access or that need to access programs like this aren't generally making decisions about whether they can pay their tax bill or whether they're going to move to different accommodations. These are people who are making decisions about whether they're going to have 1, 2, or 3 meals in a single day, and this, you know, we saw the highlight of the poverty that was demonstrated in that news clip we saw earlier. I mean, it's hard to believe, but we actually have these scenarios in Oakville. There are serious financial needs, and I spent years as the president of the Housing Corporation, and I spent a lot of time in seniors buildings and meeting some of these folks, and I was absolutely astonished at you know, while we provide them very nice 4-wall living accommodations, but astonished at what they don't have, and you know, it's again, these aren't people who are making decisions whether to sell their houses or not. Again, these are people making decisions as to their nutritional content in a day. You know, I'm not going to come down on one side or the other of this, you know, whether you're making excuses or not. I mean, I do understand very important fiscal responsibility in the town, and I'm not going to take sides in that particular issue. I know that Max said one thing, and Councillor Duddick was concerned about the content, so I'm not going to take a side on that. But what I am going to say is that we do on many occasions, and Your Worship, I'll give you a motion to go past the hour.
I still think you should observe the 5-minute limit.
Okay, am I close to that?
Yes, sir.
Okay, well, then I'll wrap up, but I'll also make the motion to go past the hour.
Thank you very much. That's very timely. I am reminded by the clerk I only need a seconder for that. I'll choose Councillor Grant. All those in favor? That's carried. Thank you, Councillor Knoll.
To respect the time and to respect your admonishment, which I appreciate, I'm just going to sum up by saying this, that I'm not going to take sides, as I said, but what I am going to say is that there are many, many occasions when we've just decided to do it. When we've had needs arise, we've just decided to do it and deal with the consequences, whether they be through surpluses or budgets or adjustments mid-year. We've just managed to find ways to do the things that we truly feel that we want to do, and I don't think that this is any different. Last point, I know I said that's the last point. This is absolutely the last point. The last point is that Councillor Duddick made reference to the fact that we need more empirical data. I'm putting words in your mouth slightly, but we need more data before we can make a final decision. That's absolutely true, which is I think is the beauty of this motion, that this would give us real data, not just conjecture, not just thoughts or good feelings. It would give us real data as to what this will cost us going forward in the long term. Thank you, Your Worship, and thank you to my colleagues.
Thank you, Councillor. Councillor Lapworth.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have a question for Mr. Cole, our Director of Transit, if I may. Mr. Cole? You fired off some numbers to me earlier today, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but my estimate for the cost of the 6-month trial in lost regular revenue is about $65,000.
The cost of the trial would be about $39,000. That would be the minimum.
Okay, is that lost revenue or is that the cost of actually administering the program?
There's no cost to the administering of the program, and that would be the lost revenue that we are aware of.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Lapworth. Councillor Adams is next on, then Councillor Johnson. Before you gentlemen begin, and given the hour, I wonder if I could beg your indulgence to float a suggestion. Council, we've created a wonderful way of working together over the last many years. And the mover and seconder of this motion have made a gesture with their change that we should take note of, which is to give it a certain end. And they've also made an effort to sync up with the budget process. We're about to begin the budget process in only a few days, and 6 months would take us to the end of the year, or this takes us to the end of the year, and so the only remaining procedural flaw with this is it basically is too long. The budget will be back and done before the results of this contemplated study would be with us. So in an effort to float a collegial compromise, I wonder if the mover and seconder of this motion would be willing to change it to a 3-month period. And it may be that as a result of a 3-month period and the data, if it were changed, perhaps we could then be in a better position to, I hope, deal with this once and for all. So that's my thought that I float for you. Councillor Demoff?
Could I ask a question of the Director of Transit on that? Seeing as you haven't done this before, I'm probably putting you in an awkward position, but do you think 3 months would give you enough time to communicate the program and gather useful data for the Budget Committee?
I believe 3 months would be sufficient. We've already talked to communications, and we already have a communications plan prepared. As you know, we go out to the senior residences, so we can cover a lot of the bases pretty quickly.
Councillor Khan.
Your Worship, I think that's a friendly amendment, and I'm willing to accept it, as I think my colleague, Councillor Demoff, is also willing to accept it.
I'd hate to see us, I believe we're very evenly divided on this. And when I can, I've tried to find a middle road for us. I hope that perhaps this will satisfy all of us. I share the strong concerns that have been expressed by Councillor Duddeck and Councillor Elgar. But this keeps coming back, and I am willing to try to get this to a point where we can decide once and for all with some data and maybe satisfy us all with the final decision. So in the event that you've changed it, and I gather that you have, I could support it, and I would suggest to my colleagues who have expressed their reservations that in a spirit of cooperation and collegiality, we we give the suggestion a try. So that's my thought. And then the next speaker is Councillor Adams, Councillor Johnston, and Councillor Elgar.
Just what date are you putting on this motion?
Bring it back 3 months.
I'm just concerned, Your Worship, I think the motion read that it starts at July 1st. Are you suggesting 3 months from July 1st or 3 months from today?
In order for it to sync up with the budget, you need to have it finished before the budget does, right? So July 1st for 3 months struck me as a window that would work. And 6 just goes past the budget.
That's fair.
So I'm just looking for a way to bring us together here. Councillor, I'm sorry, we have a speakers list, which is Adams, Johnston, Byrd, and then DeMoff. You want to? Sure. Councillor Adams.
Thank you. So if that now reads September 30th, 2012 instead of December, can I ask our director his comments on this whole thing? Does it work? Can he make it happen? Does he have enough time to implement it? No, but in terms of, yes, I know what he said, but in terms of starting up July, I mean, do you have enough time to tell people? I mean,
Yeah.
what in your mind is going to happen?
We're going to, as of tomorrow, start putting the word out. We've already tentatively selected a day in the event that this motion did pass. And then we will start getting the word out by visiting the senior residents. We've already got appointments set up at the 3 major residences to deal with further approvals on the split program. So we're going to be out there anyways over the next 2 weeks. And then we'll work with communications to get the word out to the broader sector. From an administrative standpoint, the most critical aspect is getting the word out to the drivers, because the rest of it is just them coming to us. The reason this would take hold fairly quickly and we'd be able to gather statistics very quickly is that it's so simple.
Which day is it that you've tentatively picked?
That would be the 29th of February.
Which day of the week?
Monday.
Mondays, thank you. They can come to council. Okay, so your figures were, as I understood it, 39. You're cutting it in half to 20. Is that something that your budget can pick up, given its current state?
I think the effects of $20,000 on Barry's overall operating budget would be something that we could accommodate. There's a variety of ways that we could do it. One is to let the budget revenue fall short, another is to supplement it from a reserve, but we could deal with that.
And where are you on the split program with the region?
Through you, Mr. Mayor, as was noted earlier, we've reached the maximum of our allotment, so at the moment we're just maintaining the program. The split program is a pilot as well, and it is completed coincidentally at the end of September. The region will then be deciding what they're going to do with it, and we're hopeful that they'll expand the program and increase our allotment, but we won't know until the end of September as well.
Thank you very much. I shared the sentiments expressed by Councillor Elgar and Councillor Duddick on the matter. I continue to have those concerns, and so I haven't quite made up my mind, but I think I'll probably support the 3 month. I'm not sure if I'll continue to support it after that, though.
Thank you, Councillor Adams. The next is Councillor Johnston.
Thank you, Mayor. I've got one question for Mr. Cole too. How are you going to collect the data?
The farebox system we have, GFI farebox, is fairly common in the transit industry, and it records, automatically records fare media that's entered into it, and in the absence of that, we'll record it as we do a pass with a key push by the driver. So that all seniors, for example, a senior getting on the bus right now, if they display a senior's monthly pass, that is then recorded by the driver as a senior's pass fare. So we would record it in the same way.
Okay, thank you. Like Councillor Adams, I have grave reservations about this. I support what Councillor Elgar and Duddock have said. I think we have to be fiscally responsible to all the residents in this town, not just the seniors, all the residents and the taxpayers. I think this is more a case for a comprehensive review, and I believe that staff are undergoing a review of all transit services, and I think this would fit in very well with that. So the 6 months, definitely not. The 3 months, I don't know. Like Councillor Adams, I'm up in the air.
I'm concerned. Beginning, I thank Councillor Khan for some of the, I guess I was excuse number 1, 2, and maybe 4, and the 3. Anyway, and answer, no, I won't rebut with the passion that you presented, but as I say, and I was surprised how, I guess it's just your profession, that you can take what I thought was a very common reasoned approach and turn it in such a way that the way you did, and you should be congratulated for it. I won't repeat them, but I will ask how, if my sales and marketing background, how you sell 2 programs at the same time. You were still running up, but I understand the split pass, which has been relatively successful, so successful that we've sort of run out of passes or money. And then in the middle of that, you wanted, oh, we've got something even better. We've got something free. Now, my experience is normally you don't run 2 programs at the same time because of the confusion it causes. Why would we not stay this one till we get some sort of proper feedback on the region one, which seems to be taking some success if they've run out of passes, or just contribute the $20,000 we're going to spend on this to extend that to September? Do you understand the question? Like, you're going to go to still selling the split pass because presumably there's some traction there to have that continued, and then say, well, that'll work for 6 days a week, but we've got a free one coming down the pipe.
Through Mr. Mayor, I don't believe that the 2 programs are actually in conflict. My experience with the split program is we were very successful. We were very successful because we did outreach to the senior residences themselves. So there was a large group. There was a lot of demand at those single locations. What we weren't able to do is get out to the individuals. And there are a number of mechanisms that we anticipated doing, that we were planning to do, but by the time we were able to, we had already reached our maximum. So we don't really have any sort of, I'm not able to stand here and tell you that, that we would have the same type of success on an ongoing basis in support of the split program. I also think that they achieve 2 different things. One provides for regular travel throughout the month, supported by the subsidy of the region. The other provides for a single person to go out once a week. So I don't believe that the 2 are in conflict, and I believe that we can track the results of each of them separately.
I believe the free would cannibalize one that which is effectively is a paid program.
I don't believe so.
Okay, thank you. I still have some concerns with getting into any kind of a program that's free. It's very difficult to move off that, regardless of, without clear criteria, what thresholds that you're supposed to make to suggest that there's going to be offsetting with ridership or paid ridership on other forms. Because presumably, if you're traveling a senior one for free, you're maybe traveling with a full paid passenger. You see that in the airlines, your companion rides for free or whatever it is. I don't think we're there yet, but that's a possible outcome. But I really have concerns that one program may just confuse and cannibalize another. So that's my comment. I'd prefer not to either start and stop, and I don't think 3 months is adequate to properly address it anyway.
No, thank you, Your Worship. I'll be extremely brief. I've heard this talked about for many years, what we're talking about here again. And in my opinion, this is a one-time, 3-month expenditure of $20,000 to finally decide what way we're going to do and get it right. So I'm happy to be able to support it.
Thank you. I'll be supporting as well, and I'm going to reserve all the things I was going to say, just because there's one point that I really need to make, or it's going to drive me crazy. Mr. Cole, the split pass is meant for low-income families as well as seniors, correct? So we're not cannibalizing anything. We're not doing anything that's, similar. The split pass is essentially meant for the low-income people in our community. The free day for seniors to ride is a completely separate thing from that, is it not?
Through Mr. Mayor, you're absolutely correct.
Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Grant. Councillor Demoff, do you still need to speak?
I'd just like to have a recorded vote when we get to the vote.
Thank you. No problem. Are we at a point to vote? I see no more speakers. The clock advances inexorably. I will put the motion as amended. Well, we had a very dramatic beginning speech. I thought a little drama. Before we do, I'd just like to point out that Councillor Khan, I appreciate very much the changes that you and Councillor Demoff made in order to seek a consensus, and I think that's always good on us when we do that. I have to tell you that those items you mentioned that we led on, we actually did have jurisdiction, if that matters. I don't think it matters to your argument, but you do need to know that we did have and do have jurisdiction in those areas. So all those in favor of the motion can be recorded in support by rising to be named. That's Councillor Khan, Councillor Grant, Councillor Knoll, Councillor Lapworth, Councillor Elgar, Mayor Burton, Councillor Giddings, Councillor Demoff, Councillor Robinson. And those opposed, please stand. Councillor Adams, Councillor Byrd, Councillor Duddick, and Councillor Johnston. Thank you. The motion is carried, and I'm sure staff will make a good show of it. Now, that brings us to the final item, but for the bylaws, and we only have 20 minutes. So there's not going to be time for 15-minute speeches. In fact, I would dare say there's really no time for speeches. Procedurally, I call your attention to the fact that this motion basically reverses a section of the unanimously adopted protocol. It is therefore reconsideration. And because we had a recorded vote and everyone voted for it, everyone is free to move reconsideration. And there is no requirement on the seconder. It can be for or against. However, in this case, that's moot. So to deal with this, we're going to need a motion to reconsider. Councillor Robinson?
So moved.
And we need a seconder. Councillor Demoff, was that your? All right. I'd like a recorded vote on this, and I would ask all those in favor of reconsideration to stand to be named. Councillor Khan, Councillor Demoff, Councillor Duddick, and Councillor Robinson. All those opposed, please stand. Councillor Adams, Councillor Grant, Councillor Knoll, Councillor Lapworth, Councillor Elgar, Mayor Burton, Councillor Giddings, Councillor Byrd, and Councillor Johnston. Reconsideration fails, and the item will not advance. Council, you have your information items circulated electronically to you. Councillor Demoff?
There was a revision to this that was given to the clerk this morning, to this motion. So
I
does
don't
that
have it.
sit?
The revised motion that you put forward, I was waiting for you to place it before the council.
Okay, in our email, I thought you were bringing it with you. So would that have to sit as a notice of motion then? It was a staff direction.
I think, given the hour, that you might wish to take that course. I don't know.
I didn't print it off because I thought the clerk was
If I
bringing it,
may,
so.
I was under the impression that it was a private matter, and I didn't want to bring it forward, but you did write it as a notice of motion as well, which,
All right, well, we'll look to that, we'll look for that at the next council meeting. You've had your information items circulated electronically. You have your status of outstanding issues. Is there new business, notice of motion, emergency business, emergency announcements, congratulatory or condolence?
Can I introduce that as a notice of motion tonight then?
Is it printed and ready to distribute?
yes, I have it to put on.
Yes, you can.
Oh, you have enough to give out? Yes. Is there a different one? What's the one I received? Yeah. This is the one?
The exception of the application.
Yeah, it's this one. Just put it on the overhead.
So do we have copies for council?
We'll put it on the overhead.
All right. Well, it doesn't matter. Council actually, we don't vote on notices of motion. We just receive them. I think it's sufficient. I will rule that it's sufficient that the clerks have a copy. So it'll go on the order paper for the next council meeting. Are there any regional reports or question periods for town boards and advisory committees? Thank you. Are there any requests for reports? Thank you. Is there a mover and seconder for consideration and reading of the bylaws? Councillor Khan and Councillor Grant, I believe. All in favor? Opposed, if any? The bylaws are adopted. Thank you for your time and attention. That ends the agenda. It's been great working with you.